was moved.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dana, will you take the roll, please?
Trustee Goldberg,
Present.
trustee Ehrlich,
Here.
trustee Hansen,
Here.
president Lamont,
Here.
trustee Henke,
Here.
trustee Solly,
Here.
trustee Sulzer,
I'm here.
Thank you. I'd like a motion to adopt the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I second.
Any questions or comments or changes?
The agenda,
Yes.
do we have people, do we want to move anything around so that we can give people their night if they want it?
Can certainly do that. We have the officer recognition toward the top. What other things would you like to?
Do we have any appointments happening tonight?
Yeah,
Let's move those up.
it would be 14B.
My recommendation would be, right, I move to amend the agenda to move 14B. And where's the officer awards? Officer recognition awards. I guess that's already up front, so,
It's already at the
yeah,
top.
move the appointment of 14B, to, are we able to move it to old business?
Why don't
Right
we-
after public hearing.
Why don't we do it right after the reports of villages, officers, and
perfect.
agents, okay?
Yep,
Okay,
perfect, thank you.
so that'll be the last thing in section 7.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, anybody else, any changes? All in favor of the?
Oh, wait, hang on, you said of old,
7.
you said of 7, you mean of
10.
10?
No, I'm thinking of 7.
7.
After.
Oh, okay, okay, all right, thank you for the clarification.
Right.
Yep, sorry about that.
Anything else? All in favor of the amended agenda, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, minutes, you have the minutes of the last meeting, we have a motion to
Motion
approve?
to approve.
And second,
Second.
comments?
Aye.
I have a question. Under the president's report, item 9, page 3, I didn't quite understand the second bullet. Wonder if we could make that language just to make it clearer. What did you mean by that?
The proposal that we put together for the Irving Apple Tree Pathway that we submitted to the federal government a couple of years ago was resubmitted, a couple of months ago. Yeah,
Oh, okay, so the grant application was resubmitted?
Yes.
I wasn't sure what the phrase "on the federal level" meant, so
It
maybe
meant
you
it
could
was-
make that change.
It's part of the congressional budget, not state stuff.
Okay.
This is federal money.
Okay,
And while we're on the subject, it did get added to Representative Talib's official request, along with 14 other things, to be
good.
included in the budget. Not
Good.
approved, but added to the request, so. Okay,
Thank you for that.
anything else on the, David?
So, two things. One, just as sort of a matter of order. So trustee Solly came late, so he can't be present at roll call and adopting the agenda. He can't be present at roll call and then absent for those first two items. So whoever it is, so at present, just acknowledge that he came late.
So we
And
just need
then-
to clarify that, okay.
Right.
And on page 8, under item F regarding artificial turf in the discussion, where it says Goldberg was concerned about the rubber inserts, I would prefer the word Goldberg questioned the rubber inserts. That's it.
Okay. Anybody else? Yeah, all in favor of approving the?
Aye.
Are you in a hurry?
The minutes?
You know, we got a big crowd.
We got an aye, yeah, let's move. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now, public question comments. We had a big crowd, so we're going to have to limit some time here, a couple minutes. But if you have a public request or a comment, please come up to the podium, identify yourself, and you got a couple minutes. If your issue is on the agenda, I'd ask that you hold your comments until your agenda item comes up. But if it's not, please come up to the.
Daniel Schub, 32334 Franklin Road. Please excuse me for speaking fast. I have a lot to cover, and I'd like to take time slot allowed for Natalia as well, so I'll be speaking for 2. I'd like to circle back to the last May council meeting. Thank you, Trustee Hansen, for bringing up the issue of the fences between Hinan's property and ours in our letter from March 3, 2024. We've been trying to solve this issue for 3 years. Trustee Sally, you stated at that meeting that this matter should not be discussed here because it is a neighborly dispute. I have to disagree. This matter should be discussed here because it isn't about the neighborly dispute. It is about the village officials performing their duties, or rather not performing them, and being selective on when and how to do their jobs depending on the family involved. You have all seen the photos showing the terrible condition of the fence, so I won't waste my time describing the issue again. I have newer pictures for you to see. The condition is much worse now compared to March. Some trustees expressed their concern about it and stated they wished this would be resolved. Mr. Frazier reassured everyone here in May that the issue is in the process of being resolved, and reassured Natalia in April that we are not being ignored, as he already had a conversation with Mr. Hinant. Yet on April 7, Mr. Frazier or Mr. Dinnan sent a letter to Hinants asking to address a violation. Conveniently for the Hinants, the letter did not include a deadline, giving them indefinite time to comply. In a conversation with Natalia, Mr. Frazier stated they are typically set a 2-week deadline to comply with this type of letter. Well, not for Hinants. The Hinants applied for the permit in April 22, but they have not applied for the HDC or ZBA since then. And now they are stalling the issue. No enforcement action has been taken by Mr. Frazier, Mr. Dinnan, or Mr. Gojek. In the meantime, Mr. Dinnan has bluntly refused to answer Natalia's question about the status of this issue, and Mr. Frazier denied our FOIA request when we requested to see the file so we can get an update on the status of this issue. I'm afraid you were misled at the last meeting about the status of the issue and the intentions of the Hinants. While Hinants have stated they want a new fence, facts show the opposite. Mr. Hinant stated the following at the last May council meeting. He doesn't know how to proceed. He has been through several ZBA meetings and served as an HDC commissioner. He stated we are the ones preventing him from installing the fence. The last time he applied to ZBA, he was denied for a few reasons, some of which are he applied to install the fence on the property line, which would be in a violation of the village ordinances requiring at least 2.5 feet of clearance. Michigan law requires at least 3 feet of clearance between the fence and the wall of the home, regardless of the property line, to allow for access and maintenance. In the May meeting here, he stated he would apply now to install 1 inch from the property line instead of the same place where the fence is right now. Again, not leaving the required clearance. He knows it will be denied. This shows no intent to obtain approval. His contractor stated that the image of the fence Hinant presented for approval did not match the fence he was hired to install. Mr. Hinant attempted to mislead the ZBA Commission in 2021, and it did not work. We simply requested that the fence face us and installed in the same place, so we are not the reason of denied application. He stated that we installed the cameras and we do not allow him to enter the property. 1, their contractor confirmed at the ZBA meeting that he does not need to access our property to install the fence. 2, yes, we had to invest in 6 cameras when Mr. Hinant started harassing us, trespassing on our property, and sending dogs to our property to traumatize our son even more. We found out he had done the same to the previous property owner and the owner before. In addition, we found out that Mr. Hinant was charged with breaking and entering our property and was criminally charged and prosecuted, case 07F01851SM, and the previous owner had to obtain the PPO order against Mr. Hinant, affidavit provided. Hinant also claimed, I'm taking her time too. Hinants also claimed in May meeting that he won the trespassing in public nuisance case, which is untrue. A judge order will be provided to clear baseless claims. Mr. Heenan also questioned why the council cares about the fence. He stated, no one sees it. The statement says a lot about the person in his own words. We've shared the videos from our cameras with some of you showing Mr. Heenan as a completely different person from how he presents himself to the public. Those are just 3 videos out of 74 our cameras recorded in less than 2 months.
Sir, we're-
Who sees it?
we're out
We
of time.
do
But
see it
I'm
from
just
our
gonna
windows.
Ask Roger Fraser to update you tomorrow on the current status of the,
With all due
because
respect,
some of
we
the
have
stuff
6
that
minutes.
I've heard, I understand.
Together, we have
differently.
6 minutes, and you are not
You
limited.
have,
Normally you
Two-
only 3.
I said earlier tonight, because
I
of the
only
number
need
of people
another
here.
2 or 3
we have-
minutes. I'm almost done.
Okay, we'll give you 1 more minute.
Trustee Seltzer, you were right at the last meeting. If they have already applied twice with the ZBA, why this time will be different? It won't be. Heenans can delay applying to HDC and ZBA forever, and even if they are approved, they can delay installing the fence for years unless the village officials take action and force Heenans to remove their rotten, dangerous fence. It is an issue of governance that we are dealing with here. We would assume Heenans want the fence. We would want one as well. I don't know why they are stalling. I can only assume it could be for 2 reasons. One could be revenge. Second, they cannot afford the new fence. Mr. Heenan stated that he have done some things out of revenge. We have done some things out of revenge. Well, we haven't. But his thoughts are pointing us to conclusion that maybe it is he who is acting out of revenge, projecting his thoughts and behaviors on us, still trying to get back at us because they were hoping to win for $140,000 to improve their finances when they sued us for 3 trees, which we believed were ours, and we removed from them because they were rotten and dangerous. Too close to the house, and 2 arborists confirmed these facts and recommended the trees be removed. The arbitrator concluded trees were on the property line. Instead of the $440,000 win, the Heenans were awarded $7,500, which I doubt covers their attorney fees paid in a year-long process while suing us. Are they upset about it and seeking revenge by all
I
means?
understand, I think we got the gist of what you're talking
Last,
about.
last sentence.
You're-
Last sentence.
Okay, you got 5 seconds, go.
Can we agree today that Mr. Frazier should write a new letter this week with the deadline this time, follow through on it, and report to the council on the progress?
Okay, I would ask Mr. Frazier to update you on the current status of what's going on, because some of the comments you made, I understand, the facts are different. But Roger, will you take time tomorrow and talk to these folks? Okay, thank you for your comments. Appreciate it.
This is not going to go anywhere again. Just again,
We're not going to
same.
debate with you. We'll update you. There's more to the story than you know, and Roger will update you. Okay, thank you. I'm not going to take the time now. We've got a whole bunch of people out here. We'll get to you tomorrow. Thank you. Anybody else have public comments?
May we, last thing, maybe give you the files that I have presented to support
give them
our,
to Dana?
we have one for each. Is it okay to approach and
Why don't
just
you hand
hand
them to
those to you?
Dana, and she'll make sure we get them. Okay, thank you. Okay, next public comment?
All right, thank you. Hi, I'm Brian Riggin. This will be quick, I promise. I know you have a lot on the agenda. We're relatively new to the Franklin community. We've been here about 2 years. And really, just 2 things that I wanted to plant a seed tonight is just this past Friday evening, one of our neighbors pretty much lost their house due to a fire. Luckily, they got out, right? But out of that throughout our neighborhood, there's some questions about fire hydrants or lack of fire hydrants. We're trucking in water. And all I really want to plant a seed tonight is what is the reasoning behind not having hydrants? And I guess as a homeowner, it is concerning to find out that if water has to be trucked in, which it does, was the fire lost because of that? We don't know the cause. That's not my responsibility. I'm not the homeowner, and I'm not, obviously your fire investigation team and police will determine that. But just planting a seed on that, maybe it's another conversation for the next meeting. Second thing is just a general comment about speeding in and around Franklin. And I know you've got a lot on your plate as far as the police force here. policing and enforcing, but I have noticed in the past 30 days, at least 6 to 8 people going right down Franklin Road, anywhere from 50 to 60 miles an hour. And on 13 Mile, it's probably just as worse. I've seen people drive around buses with the arms extended. So if there's anything we can do to help the police, let us know what we can do, right? I mean, we know what's going on. I'm not a tattletale type person, but I also want to help. So, and as you can imagine, with kids now being out for the summer, a lot of kids on bikes, those kinds of things. So, anyway.
Let me just say one thing about, I'm on the fire commission.
Yeah.
So I got a text from Chief Averbach right after the fire happened, and he
Yeah.
said that when they arrived, the flames were already through the roof.
Yeah.
So there was nothing that could have been done to
It
save
just seemed
the
like
house.
we were listening to it in real time on the fire thing.
Yeah.
So how long it took for we had to go from Commerce to Southfield to West Boonfield. It's just frightening for us to watch flames
Yeah,
from
you
the next
can't-
block.
The
It's,
house across from me burned down as well, too,
And to
in
know if
the
it,
past.
thank God it wasn't windy like it was yesterday, because then it would have been beyond what we
Yeah.
could have done.
Right.
And we have an electric vehicle. There's no way all the water trucked in is gonna put our fire out
We
either. So
expect that our fire commissioner is going to be here tonight.
I saw it, that's why
Yeah.
we didn't know if we
And-
should bring it up when the
and
fire
so I-
report.
I know
I
you
can
guys.
stand by and listen to. what-
Okay, yeah, that's fair. Well,
Thank
anyways, thank you.
Brian?
Okay.
So first, thank you for coming and
Yeah.
speaking. We always appreciate that.
Yeah, well,
Right.
I figured it, I know you asked for participation,
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, 100%. Two things. One, on the conversation about hydrants, things like that, not going to do it today, there's too much to cover.
Right,
We,
totally
as a
understand.
council, we've had a lot of conversation about how do we bring in municipal water, conversations about hydrants,
Yeah.
things like that. Through the website, you can contact me and we can talk
Okay,
offline.
perfect.
Some of those conversations were honestly like 2 years ago about how we can start bringing municipal
Okay.
water in. Hydrants need municipal water.
Yes, right, you
So,
can't,
I'm happy to chat with you about that, about what
Okay.
those conversations were.
Okay.
Secondly, about, I know Chief and the Assistant Chief are out there. Time and time again, when I've talked to Chief Roberts, he'll say, just call the police department, they want the phone calls. He
Yeah.
say, every single morning, at 6 AM, they are ripping down the road.
Yeah.
It's not tattletaling, it's just
Yeah.
informing them of the hospice. They're very happy to take phone calls.
absolutely,
So
okay,
go do that.
yeah, well, thank you.
Thanks
I
for
know you got a
coming.
busy agenda.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other public comments?
Yes, Ron Riami from 32692 Ravine Drive. Well, that brings up water, and if we don't have it in Franklin, it looks like we're gonna have some problems. So my complex just had their insurance canceled, okay, completely canceled. And we had to go crazy because they don't, obviously with what happened in Miami, it's just gone north and it's gone nationwide. And if you all don't know it, I'm sure you do, there are real problems getting insurance. And it would be really helpful if we had water. I mean, that's just another reason that, I hadn't really thought about until all of a sudden your insurance gets canceled for no reason at all. Just, you have a wood structure, and we don't like those anymore, really. Try to get insurance now. It's it's
Did you
next to
say
impossible.
yours was canceled?
Our whole complex.
What's your complex?
Was it
Right
recent?
behind the-
Was it
Recent.
because of
It's
the
a
fire?
condo.
No,
Condo's
no,
not
nothing to do
Oh,
with the fire.
that's just a coincidence?
Just a coincidence.
Wow.
Just, we don't want old structures, we don't want wood structures, we don't want
We're
Franklin.
cognizant, and I live in a 1840s wooden house, and it's a nightmare. So we all are.
Yeah, but we could
concerned.
solve it if we put in water.
Well, yeah, that's a big,
Yeah.
I have a feeling it's a discussion that we will have in the
We could have
next.
done it when we did the street, but
Yeah.
there were
Okay.
some people who didn't do it.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate your comments.
On a lighter note, in short time, my name's Al Becky. I'm president of the Franklin Community Association, a resident at 32900 Colony Hill. Just like to announce that we have a busy June month ahead of us. Not only are we doing things, meaning the Franklin Community Association, but the Garden Club is having their garden walk, and the church and the Historical Society is having a strawberry social. But going down the list, On Monday, the 17th, we have a Father's Day, Family Fun Day, with hot dogs being available, sponsored by Linda Hiller's organization. This 19th is the Garden Walk, sponsored by the Franklin Garden Society. And then on the 23rd, Sunday, the Strawberry Social is at the church, again sponsored by the Historical Society and the church, from 11 to 1. And then on Saturday, June the 29th, we have Uncork, which is a wine tasting affair on the property that we call the park, immediately
West.
west of the village offices. And tickets are available for the Uncork Fair. It's $50 for members, $65 for non-members. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Al.
Thanks, Al.
Any other public comments? Okay, let's move on to reports of village officers and agents. Dan Roberts?
Well, good evening, everyone. I wanted to start off with just a couple of quick housekeeping items that's not on your report. Officer Nora Downs started with us 3 weeks ago. She's in our field training program right now. She is currently on the night shift. That's why she's not here today. Otherwise, I would have introduced her to you, but this is her day off, so she's actually sleeping right now. We were lucky to steal her away from Sylvan Lake Police Department. She has a great amount of experience with them as well as with Kego Harbor. So we're happy to have Nora with us now. And starting next Monday, we're also going to hire a new officer named Pharaoh Johnson. Pharaoh is going to be coming to us from Pleasant Ridge Police Department, where he has some good experience as well. So we're really excited about these new people starting here, and hopefully they'll be with us for decades to come. If you haven't seen them yet, I'll try to get them both in front of council at some point. It's just tough scheduling everybody, but we will definitely bring them before council so you can see them in person and lay eyes on them. But tonight, unless you have any questions about my report, I'm happy to answer them, the written report. What I'd really like to do is focus on the retirements and the awards that I'm going to give out tonight. I'm going to start, if you don't mind, I'm going to start with one of our part-time officers who recently retired. His name is Pete Kelly. If we could have Pete come on up here. Pete's here with his wife, by the way. Pete worked for us for about 9 years, just short of 10 years as a part-time officer. He's one of those second career guys that came to us after a full career with the Berkeley Police Department and then came to work with us for several years after that in a part-time capacity. He worked as a fill-in for a number of shifts when our regular officers were off on training or vacation or sick leave. He would fill in at the last minute and cover a lot of shifts for us. It was a big help for us. He also volunteers heavily down at the fire department. He's also one of your fire captains on the fire department. So he's very connected with Franklin, but he has decided that it's time to move on from the police department. And so for that, we came up with a little recognition for him. We have a plaque in his honor, and we wanted to recognize his service with our department with a plaque and a challenge coin, a Chief's Challenge coin. So Pete, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
And these are our, I've said it before, but these are our challenge coins, the Chiefs coins that we developed specifically for recognition of officers when they do something great, and certainly retiring is a great thing. So congratulations again to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Pete.
The next officer who's retiring is one of our full-time officers, is Kimberly Bonacorsi. Kimberly, there you are, okay. A lot of you know Kimberly, especially if you're with Mobile Watch, because she's been the Mobile Watch liaison for years. Kimberly's worked for us for over 10 years. She's actually one of the first people that I ever hired when I started here, and she's getting out the door before me, so I hate her for that. She's also one of our, a second career person too. She had a career in information technology before she got into law enforcement and then joined our department, has done a great job. A lot of you might not know her because she's been working nights the whole time, her whole 10 years. And that's by her choice, by the way. She's got seniority and she just doesn't like to be around the chief, so she works nights. Which I appreciate her honesty in telling me that, honestly, actually. But she's been a great asset to our department. She's actually one of our highest performers in terms of of everything, really, when it comes down to looking at the metrics that you track on a police officer, whether it's house checks, building checks, traffic stops, arrests, reports written, all of those things. She's always been one of our top performers on the department for over 10 years now, and for that, we are going to miss her greatly. I know she has a place up north, and she's going to spend a lot more time with her husband up there, but we hope to see her around here still a little bit. And for that, we have a plaque for her, and congratulations. Here for you too as well. So you probably have a number of those.
Yes,
already.
just a couple.
Did you want a speech?
Huh? No, thank you. It's been great. I'm sorry I'm leaving it in 10 short years, but sometimes your health catches up to you and tells you to stop.
Thank you.
So thanks a lot for the help on the streetlights,
Oh, you're
officer.
welcome. Oh, by the way, they're out at Carroll and Franklin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next thing I'm going to do is get into officer awards, if I can figure out, there it is, what I did with my, my sheet here. If I could have, first one up is Officer Logan Hall. Logan, there he is, right there. If you can come up here. So Logan is here actually with the Logan twins, his wife and his two new babies.
Grand reveal.
Yeah. So how, 4 months?
4 months old, yeah.
Savannah and Charlotte have arrived, and so we're happy to have them here. But Officer Hall, but this is, so I should preface this with, every year at this time we do officer awards. Throughout the year, anybody can nominate an officer for their performance throughout the year. Those nominations can come from other officers, from command staff, from the citizenry, anywhere. We'll take all nominations, sit down with a team and look at each nomination and decide which ones are worthy of recognition. In this particular case, Officer Hall and his partner, Sergeant Wells, responded to a family trouble call in which an 18-year-old child, I guess, an 18-year-old was causing problems for his parents and in fact had assaulted the mother, was threatening to stab the mother with a kitchen knife when they arrived at the scene. Thanks to their quick arrival, they were able to talk the individual down, have him put the kitchen utensil down. They had things under control for a little bit by de-escalating the situation, but then out of the clear blue, the subject decided that he was going to haul off and punch Officer Hall right in the face for no reason. So then we were back on again trying to calm him down. They did a phenomenal job of de-escalating the situation again, taking him in for mental health evaluation thanks to the fire department. During the course of the investigation afterwards, it was determined that the same individual had assaulted a Birmingham police officer a couple of months earlier in a similar type of fashion. So the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office reviewed all of that information and decided to charge the individual with assault on a police officer. As part of the condition of his release, the judge ordered him for mental health evaluation, and that's where we stand with the case at this time. But it could have gone much worse than that. He showed a lot of restraint, especially after being punched in the face by this very large individual who was 18 years old and strong. And so for that, we are going to award him with a unit citation. Let me just make sure I have the right one here first. That's departmental. So there's the unit citation for Logan. Congratulations with that. Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to say departmental citation. You get a departmental citation, not the unit. So you get another one. And then he also gets a challenge coin as well for his. He also gets a ribbon. This is it here. He also gets a ribbon for his uniform, much like the military. If you are awarded with any sort of activity as a result of your performance of your duties, you get a nice ribbon. So this will go on his uniform as well as the challenge coin. So congratulations. Thank you, Chief. Man, is it hot in here. Holy crap. Chris Tucker. Oh, I'm looking right on the top of you. Chris, Chris Logan, you can come back up too, because you were both involved in this case. So this is the last award that I'll be presenting tonight. This case is rather unique. It was, Officer Tucker here was involved in a traffic stop situation at Telegraph Road where a car just didn't look right to her. It looked almost like a police car that was driving down the road, except it didn't have police plates on it. It had lights like a police car and spotlights. It was black like a police car, but it didn't have municipal plates on it. It had expired regular plates on it. So she pulled over and did a traffic stop on it. Officer Hall backed her up on it. Comes to find out this person had no involvement in law enforcement whatsoever, but he had police equipment in his car. He had lights, blue and red flashing lights, all hooked up like a police car would. Additionally, he had 2 loaded firearms in the car as well, 2 revolvers. Let me just make sure they're 38 and a 45? 38? No. 44 Magnum and a 38, both loaded and in the car. He also had uniforms in there that did not belong to him from a fire department. And so clearly this person was up to no good. And thanks to the great work that they did, they locked him up. The Oakland County Prosecutor's Office ended up charging him. Let me just make sure I get the charges correct here. And felony violations for carrying concealed weapons is what they charged him with. So it was really great work just to identify the fact that this car just didn't look right, and who was driving it just didn't look right. Pull him over and then get 2 guns off the street, and probably saving some lives with that. So for that, we have a unit citation for these 2 for their great work on that case, and thank you very much. This is yours, Chris, and this is yours, Logan. And I also have their ribbon for the unit citation is different colors than the one Logan just got for the other one. They look like this. So you get that, and challenge coins as well. So, thank you so much. And that's all I have, unless you have some questions for the officers or for me or anything. But it's been great working with all of these guys, and I love it. This is my favorite night of doing stuff like this. So I appreciate you. Thank you
Is
Boy, that was a
Chief
big
Faber back there hiding somewhere?
He's not going to be here tonight.
Is there a fire report? Fire department report?
We have one in your pamphlet.
Oh,
Just
Tony's not gonna be here?
no public report.
No, Tony has
Okay.
Okay,
teaching a class in Texas.
that's
At
fine.
some academy down there.
Okay,
Quite an honor, frankly, for him to go down there.
gotcha. Okay. Lance, treasurer's report?
Good evening, trustees and president. Please accept my written report in the capacity as the village treasurer. The bills list report for this month totals $166,304.56. And the amounts in the bills list are consistent with normal monthly spending. The expenditures are generally consistent with our budget. The bills list for this month includes a large entry of $13,396.31. It's simply for mowing, maintenance, signage, tree maintenance, banners we pay to Johnson Landscaping. There really wasn't anything of note on the bills list this month, anything exciting. The village has sufficient funds to meet its current and anticipated obligations. The list of account balances in the package is as of June the 1st that we hold at First Merchants Bank. Pam, I know you had some questions on cash management, which I'll address personally in the next day with you, okay? Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nance.
Okay, after that, we're going to move item 14B, the appointment and reappointment of members of the Planning Commission, Historic District Commission, and ZBA. Hang on a second. Take things out of order here. We have 2 appointments on planning, 3 on ZBA, 2 on Historic District plus a new Historic District Commissioner appointment. Let's just take these one at a time, and first we can start with the Planning Commission. There are two commissioners whose terms expire, Paul Brickman and Peter Halleck.
Yeah, Peter and Paul.
And both have expressed interest to continue. We need,
I move that we reappoint Paul Brakeman and Pete Halleck to the Planning Commission.
I'll second.
is there a second? Any discussion?
And just to be clear, there were 2 applicants for this?
Only 2, yeah, there were no other
Yes.
applicants.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor of appointing Paul Brickman and Pete Halleck to Planning Commission, aye?
Aye.
Okay. ZBA, we have 3 positions there. Randy Brickman is chairman, Angelina Saluka is a member, and Connie Ettinger is an alternate. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve. I second.
Any questions?
Again, same thing, though, only 3 applicants, correct?
Can we do 2? I'm gonna recuse myself from the vote for Angelina.
Sure. We'll do Randy Brickman.
Motion to approve, Randy.
I'll second Randy.
On favor?
Aye.
Okay, and Connie, you want a motion for Connie?
Motion to approve, Connie.
I'll second that.
Comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
And Angelina?
Motion to approve, Angelina.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Stark District Commission,
And then Dana, just
Okay.
please note that I recused myself from that. Thank you.
right. 2 members, Mike Brassfield, Laura Whitty, both have expressed an interest in continuing. Do I have a motion to appoint those 2 people?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments, questions? All in favor of that appointment?
Aye.
And lastly, the Historic District Commission, 1 open position. Jennifer Cook-Regan has submitted an application. We have a motion to appoint her.
I'd like to move to appoint her to the HDC.
And I'll second.
Second, any comments?
Yeah, just to remember, so as we've been kind of continuing in the process, Jennifer had applied the last time we had an HDC opening. Someone had applied before her in the past, so now she's coming back a
working.
second time, so, yeah, glad to see she came back a second time.
Well
and
qualified. for
Welcome to
the
the HDC.
Very
Yes.
qualified.
Thank you. I went to the meeting last week too. so
Awesome.
they're ranking me up.
Awesome.
There you go.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, congratulations, all of you. Okay. Now, let's get back to the agenda here. Submission of current bills. We got a list of current bills in your packet. Do you need a motion to approve them?
Motion to approve the bills.
Second?
I second.
Any comments?
I just have one quick question. Do we reconcile with the county on taxes just once a year? Like you do that for the whole prior year, or is it a kind of an ongoing
The other
thing?
day about a reconciliation. What happens in this particular case is that when the WRC has people in the system paying for pressure sewer and they're delinquent, that money is collected on taxes. And this, we had a $46,000 reimbursement for monies that we had paid to the WRC on behalf of some of our residents.
Oh, that was a positive.
Yep.
Good thing I read well. Okay, good. Thanks
I
for
have a
that explanation
question.
then.
Roger, the item, the drain assessment study under the Hubble Roth and Clark item, if for about $3,300, is that a recurring charge?
It varies for the activity that's done each month.
Okay, so that's a function of the work that they're doing on that drain,
That's
on the
correct.
drain
We
work,
get an
okay,
itemized bill from them.
Okay.
With each milling each month.
okay, thank you,
Shows who is doing it, when.
okay. I just hadn't noticed the drain assessment study item there before, I thought it might be paid in a chunk.
Well, and
Couple
remember
times.
too that that's money that is charged against the federal funds.
Mm-hmm,
And it's not part of our general fund.
right, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All in favor of approving the bills list, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. thing, presentations. We have a couple presentations. I'm not sure of the format here. What do we have?
So,
What are we doing?
This one's fairly new to me too, but we have requests from two individuals for, I believe it's one license. And there needs to be some discussion about that, but I think they have an opportunity to present to you who they are and what it is that they want to do with it. And that's the obligation of the council in looking at this is to represent the community and whether or not that's a particular place that you want to have a liquor license.
Okay.
so there's only, they both can't have this.
I'm told that's true.
They're not different? They're
Pardon?
the same liquor license that they're applying for? Or is one,
There's one available.
This is a liquor license to serve
Serve.
food as well as liquor, correct, versus a
It's
packaged
the
liquor
actual
store?
serving of the alcohol rather than.
Yeah, it's a class,
Right.
so,
Class C.
all right, so what Tangerine Dream is doing isn't just an upgrade of their existing license, they're trying to apply
I
for
think it's fair
the
to
same.
have the applicant answer
Right.
that.
I understand, I'm trying to understand, because that wasn't completely explained to us that way at legal committee, that there were two applicants for one license,
I
not
think
two
that
applicants.
became known to me last week.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Would-
didn't understand that either, so why don't we hear their
Yeah.
presentations?
yes, please.
Before you go ahead, would you tell us what it is, what action is expected from council tonight? And what the liquor license approval process is for our, just to level set everybody, including the people watching?
Peter may help me with this, but the
So the
obligation,
action, yeah,
pardon me? The
the
obligation
action
of the
for us,
council
yeah.
is to make a recommendation to the state with respect to who should be enabled to buy that liquor license in the village.
Okay,
Are we unable to recommend both applicants?
No.
If they can figure out a way to share it,
No, we are limited to one?
Yes.
that's all that's available.
We have
Yeah.
two, based on population, we have two in the village.
How
and
many
one
more
of them-
people do we need here? I'm just kidding. so-
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's take a few minutes and let each presenter come up and tell us what you're looking for. Then my sense is we will not make a decision tonight. We have a liquor control commission, a committee that needs to take a look at this.
never met.
I think,
so we
This-
don't
We're not
recommend
gonna
to
make
the
a
state?
decision.
but I don't think we're gonna do that tonight. I think let's just gather information
But
tonight.
are we going, hang on, let's just make sure that we're fully informed.
Right.
If we don't make a decision, what's the negative impact as a result of that? Is somebody's license gonna be held up?
And what is the next step in the process, and what about the voters? How is that, what are the next several steps in the process, once we do what we're supposed to do tonight? 'Cause,
They go
yeah.
get their license, I mean, unfortunately, we're gonna be put in a position to have to choose between two businesses.
Who is the liquor commission?
And who's our liquor
I'm
committee?
on it, I can tell you that, I'm one of the people.
Who,
We've never met.
It's-
who else?
It's, I believe it's, I think it's Mark,
I think it is.
Kathy, and, let's see, you. Because if that was the case, it should have gone to them instead of legal.
Right, that
There's
was
three,
logical.
I think Kathy and myself and
Because
had
when
that
it came to,
discussion
when it came to
last
legal,
time.
it was just to get it on the agenda, nobody said we were making a decision on,
No one was appointed for the open position when Ed and
Are
Brian
you-
left?
no, I have it written down. Just give me a second.
It may be me.
I looked through it, I'm pretty sure it's Mark, Kathy, and David, I looked the other day.
So that's a charter mandated commission in the village. So our job tonight is to review their
Kathy, Mark,
presentations and to recommend to, who, the state?
It's a Liquor Control Commission committee.
The committee?
Correct.
The three people that just
Correct.
found out they're on the committee?
They do their investigation
Oh, sorry.
I was on the committee too.
and report back to the Liquor Council.
Okay, they report
Correct.
back, so the action tonight will be continued next month, is that correct?
Correct, whenever they can meet and report back. But you'd
Okay.
have to hear the presentation.
Yeah, let's hear the
I
presentation.
just want to know what the steps are.
Okay, can we restate exactly what those steps are gonna be. We're gonna hear the presentation tonight, it's then gonna be referred, there's no recommendations made by us?
No, that's the point of liquor control. So we'll, as a council, we'll hear both presentations, so everyone hears the same full story. We'll meet offline as part of our role as the Liquor Control Commission, and issue a recommendation for the council next month.
Okay.
And then, going forward, then, a vote of the residents is required. No?
No, not. Vote of the residents for what?
For a new liquor license.
No, we're not asking for a new
It's an
one.
existing.
It's an
We have
existing.
If the other applicant who is not awarded the license wants to pursue it, it's either if there's a way to go vote on it, we would have to vote on it. The other way is you can buy a license and bring it into the village from an outside, I believe, but the available ones to us, we only get two.
We only have one available to us, so,
We
at
have,
the
we have
moment.
two licenses, they're population-based. One is owned by the Grill,
Yep.
the Franklin, and the other one is open. There is no chance of another license like that, although there are provisions in the law for a different kind of a Class C license. We don't want to go there tonight. But my question, I had asked you this, and it sounds like you got an opinion that we do not have to go to the voters for approval of this liquor license? So why did we do it for Lori Grundy and the Franklin Grill then?
I have to say that I think it has to go to the electors. The Franklin Grill was once approved, and that was for on premises. Now they can transfer it because.
Right, which we're gonna act
Right,
on
so
tonight.
My interpretation, based on the charter and ordinance, is that if you guys proceed with it, recommend it, then it has to go to the electors, because there's that one that has not been approved for on premises yet.
That's correct. Okay, so it does go to the electors, i.e. residents. All right, that's what I wanted to get clear about. This is quite a process. It's not just a quick and dirty. That's-
Ridiculous.
Can I just offer a suggestion? Myself, I'm David Draper. I represent one applicant. Seth Tompkins is another attorney. This is what we do for a living. We could help you with your questions and tell you kind of the path. It does not go in front of the electorate.
Good.
Their village ordinance says it does.
Our village ordinance says it does, yes. That's what I you needed to know for sure, and,
Appreciate that.
and we all need to understand that, because that does extend the timeline out a
So-
bit.
So I would, with that knowledge,
I appreciate I was too, but
so
I'll give you the ordinance number.
I'd be happy to be with them.
Okay.
But
Let's go.
Are we ready for presentations here, or do we have more comments?
the only comment I'd make is if that is a regulation in ordinance of the village, I'm open to start a conversation to end that regulation. It seems like unnecessary.
There is
Because it
only,
forces a wait till November election, that seems ridiculous.
we can do a special election.
All right, let's
Let's-
take them in
let's-
the
ordinance.
order that they're on the agenda. 32644 Franklin Road, the Gray Dog Cafe LLC.
You need a new license.
Hi.
Please identify yourselves and your business.
Absolutely. My name is Seth Tompkins. I am an attorney, and I'm working for Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
I'm Lisa McDonald, and this is Elise O'Brien. Hello.
So my role in tonight's presentation is really just to make sure that the actual application was complete. I really wanted to make sure that it was thorough. I think that we presented everything necessary under the village ordinance to have this approved. Just by way of, Lisa will explain some more, but Lisa herself is currently a business owner and a commercial property owner in the village. She operates the fitness studio that the market used to be at. And I know that when the business closed down, the ice cream shop and the coffee shop, she saw it as an opportunity to expand her role as a business person in the community. And I am here to answer any questions with respect to the application itself or the process itself. I would like to tell the board that we have put our application in with the state already. And so basically it's just sitting there waiting for a resolution from you all to allow us to have the license. But we're ready to go. So go ahead.
Well, good evening. As I said, my name is Lisa McDonald. Most of you I've met many times, but just to give also an introduction of myself to anyone who's here tonight or watching on TV. I came into the village in 2010 as a business owner. I started my business above the market, taking over the 1,200 square foot small space that was up there. It's my personal training studio it's now called Driven by Lisa McDonald. In 2017, after the market had been vacated for quite a while, I decided that I was ready to expand and take over the whole space, the whole market space. I love Franklin. I've been here. At that point, I had been there for 7 years. I didn't want to move. I was always looking to expand my business, but I didn't want to leave Franklin. I felt that there's just something here to me about home. I didn't grow up here, but it's a very home-like space for me. So in 2017, I took over the whole building, renovated it, put love and a lot of care into the building and revitalizing it to make it what it is today. Then I've always had the want to purchase a whole property. And back a year ago now, the old landlords and owners asked if I was still interested in buying the whole property, and I said absolutely. It's something that I just see. It was calling for someone to really take care of the space. I think it's been dilapidated. They were not here. The buildings were really kind of left disheveled, and no one was here taking care of them. As a business owner or as a property owner, I really truly believe that you need to be here. You need to be present. You need to see what's going on. You need to have that care and love put into the space. So on March 1st, I closed, and I'm now officially the owner of 32644 and 32655. So that whole property is now home to me. And I took that as an opportunity to really step back and look at it with a 40,000-foot view of the property and realize that there's so much opportunity here. This space needs some love and some care, and it needs to be a heart of the village. I really feel that it needs to be a space that people come. It's a community gathering space. There's more to it than just having a building back there and a coffee shop and a cafe. It needs to be a garden and a park and a place where families come together, and we offer more than just services, and it needs to be a full space. So our vision is to cultivate a thriving, interconnected community where wellness, nourishment, and nature flourish harmlessly. Harmoniously. Thank you. If we could go to the next slide. Please. So this is the current building we're interested in, or we're going to be making into our cafe. And, this is its current state. There's so much more. My vision is to really add landscaping and add so much more to this space. And I would love Elise to step in and help with the presentation today.
Sure.
So
Thanks. Again, my name is Elise Obron. I grew up on Ramble Road. Franklin is in my blood. I went to my neighbor, Freddie. I don't know if you guys know Freddie. He passed away years ago, but would go pick apple trees at his house. Franklin is who I am. So just wanted to give you a history of kind of where I come from, but have always passed this building many times. I've worked with Mark and learned, the great things that he's done with the building, and we're really excited to make this a space for the community to come together, whether that's grabbing a cup of coffee, enjoying a baked good that's made with great ingredients, because that's what we care about. We're excited to serve baseball teams and have them come and get ice cream after the baseball game. There is so much heart that this community can give, and there needs to be a space for us to come together and have a bonfire together and grab a glass of wine and enjoy each other's company. And so we're really excited for our liquor license to make that our building, into a place where our community can come together. So you can go to the next slide. These are all sketches that we've been working with our architect on, but again, really enhancing the outdoor community aspect of what we're excited about, having picnic tables outside, bringing greenery, trees. You can go to the next slide because I know we're a little bit short of time. But this is the overall kind of 40,000-foot view of what we're hoping. You can see the cafes here with the barn. We're hoping to have a movie theater type scenario in between the two buildings with some terrace seating so you can enjoy outdoor, dining, again, having a glass of wine, or, in the barn, what if we were to do dinners and have, whiskey pairings and bring in amazing chefs, even from Chicago. I lived there for 12 years. That's the excitement that I know this place can bring.
And having that liquor license is going to allow us to do those events. One thing we really feel would be a great thing is to do different evenings where we offer, whether it's a vodka or a very just
Precision.
specific, precision, very specific things. Bring in food trucks, bring in different chefs. So you're bringing that community involvement. It's not that we just want to serve alcohol. We want to bring the community in, and we know that sometimes having a glass of wine really brings people together. So, and with the movie theater, it wouldn't be like a movie theater, so I don't want you to get nervous. But it would just be a screen that we would then project, movies or entertainment on at night. So it wouldn't be, it's not a movie theater, but.
A movie viewing
Yes.
station. So you can go to the next slide, and you can see, again, having a lot of outdoor space. On the left side, you can see there's a community park. We're really excited to hopefully have on-site bees that can make honey, and we can sell that honey on our premise, or have kids come and learn about picking tomatoes, growing tomatoes, cucumbers, all of that stuff. So we have the land to do it, and we're really excited.
If you just want to go to the next slide.
The property on
Sure.
the
Go ahead.
north, go back, please.
Yes.
The dog lane
It's
is,
not ours.
who owns that
No,
piece of
that
property?
is actually owned. This
That's
was,
the bank.
this is a big
sketch.
picture. It's a sketch.
Oh,
It's a
oh.
concept. It's
That's
where
the
we
bank.
would love to see, this is the, that's the bank's property, absolutely.
Great vision.
But we just want to say, this is what we would love to be able to incorporate that community involvement.
Very
So
good.
yes, that's not ours.
Not hard in stone, just a vision of what we think it could be.
Appreciate that, thank
Yeah.
you.
So the next slide, you can just see some visuals of what we're excited the interior can look like, and you can speak to that.
Well, the interior, we want to maintain the historic outside because you have to, but then bring that modernism inside. And I don't know, for those of you who've been in the studio, it's that same feel. I'm working with my same architect who I worked with at the studio and the same designer. I have a great team, and just really focusing on all the fine details, creating a beautiful, really revitalizing it. The building has been forgotten about. There's a lot of care and love that needs to be given into that, and I really feel a liquor license is an integral part of making this business successful. And I want to see it successful. I really want to see this property become the heart of the village.
Okay,
So,
cool,
thank you so much.
thank you.
Great,
Thank
thanks.
That's great.
Well, the one thing I just wanted, that I think is really cool is that you have seating, it looks like on top of the roof here,
Well,
terrace seating.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
That's what we would love. So,
Right.
yeah. But
Looks great.
Thank you.
Upstairs.
Great,
So much.
thank you,
This is
guys.
on the roof, this
Mr.
is the
Tompkins,
flat part
you
of the roof in
said
the
you
back.
read the ordinance and
Oh, I
you
thought
believe
that
that
was
it
upstairs.
aligns with what I said?
This
Is
is-
that-
this is-
Okay.
this is- there's also-
I've been wrong many
Yeah.
times before.
We can talk it. I don't carry business cards, but I'll talk to you.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on to the
Appreciate the second opinion.
next presentation, 32731 Franklin Road, Lulu's Wine LLC. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. President, Council, thank you. All right, I'm Dave Draper, I represent Tangerine Wine and Spirits. I have Raja Brazda with me, many of you know as well. And she's been operating Tangerine for just over 2 years now. Really loves the community, so she has 2 liquor licenses currently, and there are essentially 3 that would be in play here. She has one that allows for the sale of spirits, alcohol, one that allows for the sale of beer and wine off premises. All this is off premises. She can have the occasional wine tasting or beer tasting, things like that, but it is not meant to be on a daily basis and not meant to be as permanent. If you can hit the next slide. So the intent here is to take this concept and we've already built up some community, I think, around people that want to taste higher end wine, beer, spirits, and they're coming in there and buying stuff to take home. Many of our customers are saying, hey, we'd love to stay and have lunch here and have a glass of wine and enjoy this, or a beer at happy hour, or an Amaro or something in the evening. Next slide, please. So the concept is, as you can see, there's a lot of high-end alcohol that's being purveyed there right now. Raja could tell you more about it than I can, but she has already been approved for 2 licenses. I think she's a very safe bet, extremely safe to get approved for the 3rd license, should the council and then the voters agree with the council's recommendation. We have our hours listed. She would be selling everything allowed by that license, that being beer, wine, and spirits, for consumption on premises now, and would be open, you know, depending on how the clientele wants to engage, at noon, pretty much most days, and then stay open into the evenings, obviously later on the weekends, and less late during the week. And any questions? I mean, this is essentially the look. We'll give you some renderings, and I'll let Raja introduce herself, because I know she's done a great deal in the community, including business-wise and otherwise. So I'd like her to tell you a little bit about herself and a little bit about the concept, and we've got some renderings coming up. Thank you.
Hello. Raja Brazda. Just a little bit of history of Tangerine. I've been a resident here in Franklin for quite some time, so I was a patron at Tangerine Wine and Spirits before I took it over and bought the business. I love wine very much. It's one of my biggest loves. And I went into this business as a partner, but then I eventually bought it from Ed Bossy in late 2021. When I bought it, I made a huge investment. I was in a 175 square foot space, and I made the decision to expand into close to a 3,000 square foot space all by myself. I did await patiently from the MLCC to get the expansion of space, which the approval took close to 10 months to do. And with that, with the needs and the demands of the community, as we were selling wine prior to acquiring the retail liquor license, there was a lot of ask from the community as, are you going to be able to sell liquor? My husband loves bourbon. What can you do to do that? I took it upon myself to make a close to a $500,000 investment in the sale of the retail liquor license alone. That doesn't take into account the business that I purchased or the expansion of space, the inventory, and the goods that I've done. So I made a huge investment to the community to offer these products to the ask of the folks from Franklin. And with that being said, what I wanted to do, my original business plan, is to expand into the space, get my feet wet, and to be able to expand into a wine bar, which has been my dream since day one. A wine and cocktail bar where people can come, enjoy themselves, and not just come and buy wine and leave. And that's what the wine tastings were all about. So having a beer and wine tasting license is great, but it's definitely limited. And the fact that people can't come and enjoy a glass of wine, I can't begin to describe to you how many times I have to turn people away that they can't enjoy a glass of wine that I can do legally with not violating my current license. The wine tastings have gotten so popular that we've had to close down RSVPs. As a board member of Main Street Franklin, I have done a lot to contribute to the community. I'm going on my 4th year sponsoring wine for the Franklin Community Association, doing wine tasting events, helping the Franklin Community Library with their Oktoberfest, and the various community block parties for the Main Street. So not only have I offered myself, my staff, and my products, but also my retail space for those events. I've become such a pillar in the community that people are coming, and now we've gained some traction through social media. People are actually coming from outside of Franklin to come and purchase some really high-quality wines that they've never seen before. In addition to that, I do agree with Lisa in the fact that having a community hub to be able to do wine pairings, food tastings, and such, which I have been. I have a mentor, Ping Ho, if anybody knows who she is. She has a very successful wine bar called The Royce, downtown Detroit. She also owns Marrow and Mink in Corktown. She's a fantastic businesswoman, female-owned, and she is my mentor and is guiding me through this process. Not only that, I have partnered with master sommeliers such as Sean Crenny out of Core in Ferndale. Also, Marcy's Kitchen, who is a big local chef here. She's done a great job in helping me out with the foods and such. And also, I wanted to bring something unique and different to Franklin, and I've been laser focused on the wine and the liquor part of what I do. In order to do that, I ask, for your recommendation in order for me to expand my business, which I think will be critical for my sustainability in the village. I think it will draw, outsiders to come here, which I'm seeing already in the outside surrounding areas. It'll boost the local community with the other merchants. I do believe in the economic development for Franklin, as you know, sitting on Main Street. I've done so much to actually bring Wanda to open up her pet shop. So all we do is to try to bring more economic development here. And so I ask of you to consider me for the license, and I look forward to hopefully expanding in the future. Yeah, I have recently got an architect, so I will, this is just a rendering of what I would be doing. And just so you all know, it would not take much. Of course, there is approvals with the MLCC and, of course, the vote of the residents that I would wait for, but I would be able to do this pretty quickly. I do host some wine tasting events, so I would do some reconfiguring of the property of inside. I would have more seating up front. I will build a bar, have some seating in the front as well. And then in the back room, I have a lot of space, so I'll have a TV bar lounge where people can kind of relax, maybe conduct some meetings, meet with a friend, enjoy a cocktail or so. And if you could go to the next slide. And this would be the front space. The door would be right here. So currently, if you can go to the next one will show you a little bit of, yeah, that would be the bar to the right currently where I have all the liquor bottles, if you guys have been into my space. So that will be converted into a bar.
So the door's on our side, right?
Yes.
Door's right here.
Being on our side, yep.
That's cool.
Yep, and the next one will be the back room where people can kind of lounge and kind of relax, maybe watch a game, be able to, and they've asked to do this already, which is illegal, but this way we can do this legally. Yeah. So that is a concept right now, and we're still working on it and fine tuning everything. I've worked with my landlord about this, and it's something that I'm working towards in the future to hopefully to own the building itself.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
so much.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay.
There's nothing we can do to get another license
This is
here.
painful.
Well, I mean, I guess that's kind of my question is, I feel like we're kind of sitting on our hand, I feel like our hands are tied in the sense of, I don't know what is within the scope of our authority. Like, to me, I would really like to understand whether, collaboration between Peter and Roger, like, one, we need to get documentation so that we're not caught flat-footed again, because I'm very happy that Pam is here and remembers the last time we went through this, but we should have a documented process. There's no question. Do we take this to the voters? What's the process between this in the committee or commission, right? I think we need to get more formalized documentation around the process, not just for us, but also the people who are seeking a license. And then more important, maybe not more importantly, but of equal importance, are we stuck? Is it one or the other? Because I think most of us feel we need more of these type of businesses downtown. One of the things that I always talk about is the lack of connectivity amongst the businesses. Please.
Has Franklin adopted a downtown development authority along Franklin Road, a DDA?
Trying to. No.
We have, we operate with Oakland County and our,
No, specifically I'm asking about
A
that
DDA.
because there's a,
No.
if you don't have one,
We-
there is a way to get more.
Can you explain to the public what that is?
Can
you
Come to the
approach
podium.
Mike? Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure, and I'm not an expert on downtown development authorities or economic development areas, but there is a way that a municipality can establish, and I don't know if a village can do it either, so this is why I don't know. But if you can establish a downtown development authority area, it's an area that's basically, I believe that you designate it with the state or the county in order to say this area we are trying to develop more commercial area in, okay? So the Liquor Control Commission has adopted a separate quota of licenses that are just for DDA areas, okay? And so those licenses are Class C licenses. There's a $20,000 fee to the state. And with that license, there's a minimum number of seats. I think it's 25 now. It used to be 50, but I think they lowered it. And then,
Detroit awarded 65 of them, and it's a great, I don't.
right, but the quota though, the threshold if you have a DDA is so low, okay? What the state does is it looks at the total amount of investment in that DDA area over the last 5 years, and the treasurer puts an affidavit together and sends it up. And then I believe it's every I think it's a real low threshold. I think it's every $50,000 that's been spent, you get an additional DDA license that you can issue. So you can imagine, it's a very low threshold of licensing. There's another area called economic development area, and I think that's a higher threshold of license for getting those quotas, but it's a very low threshold. And so the only downside with those licenses are like the ones that you, and again, you only have one quota license to issue. They're issued by quota, you know, so it's based on population. Based on your population, Franklin can only have 2. You have 1 issued, so you have 1 available, okay? So unfortunately, right now, you can only give 1 license away. Someone can always buy a license and bring it in, but it's very expensive now to get an Oakland County Class C license. It's upwards of $125,000, $140,000 right now just to get the license.
It's really valuable.
A liquor store license is more, so they're very expensive. But this license, it stays at the location. Okay, you can transfer ownership, never location, and if the business shuts down, I'm talking about the economic development license. If the business shuts down, then the license terminates. So it's a good tool. Birmingham, a lot of places use them. I helped Berkeley. Someone's mentioned Berkeley earlier. I
think
helped
it's an issue
Berkeley
we
bring
need to
this in.
understand more and-
Yeah, so that's really what it is.
Okay, yeah.
But very helpful.
Okay, thank you for your
It's
comment.
not available now.
Appreciate that.
But it could be if you guys.
You only have a handful, you wouldn't have.
Sure.
So we apologize for not knowing all of this. We don't have a need to know all this.
When I talked to Dana, I told her, use me as a resource. That's what
Yeah.
I tell every municipality I work for, so.
It's not something that comes up.
No.
So forgive us for that, but we'll drill down
It'd be a
on
great
it.
answer to your question.
Right.
I think it's a little longer term, but it would solve this equation.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
Do you have any questions? I'm sorry.
No,
No, thank
I
you.
actually have a suggestion, but thank you. Could I invite John up to the podium for a second? I know.
If you're not invited, just get your
So
butt up there.
just briefly, so John Bry is the Oakland County Main Street Coordinator, and John and the Main Street Board have talked about liquor licenses. Would you, just in a few minutes, take his comments, Seth's, and just talk about it in terms of what you know about Franklin and what you know that the Main Street Board has in mind for the downtown? I think it will ease this a little bit.
We're talking redevelopment liquor license?
Well,
Which
yeah.
I think is what you were talking
Yeah.
about? Okay. So Pontiac, which is not a DDA, have also passed a redevelopment liquor license. So they have that available as a tool in their downtown too. All the downtowns that Seth was mentioning are all in the Main Street Oakland County program. I think Lake Orion was the first to use the redevelopment liquor license tool in the county a couple years ago. But since then, like Seth was saying, others have, including Pontiac. So where to start on the DDA question? So forming a DDA is a process that usually starts with the county because DDAs in the county, any new DDA has to enter into an agreement and a conversation with Oakland County. There has to be a TIF plan that is created, adopted, a board that is established, things of that nature. I think there potentially is a path to look at redevelopment liquor license if it was led by the village per se, that you could pursue that without necessarily creating the other entities per se, because I think Michigan law allows for that.
Separate, right?
Yeah.
Economic development zone.
Exactly.
Right.
So the village could declare the downtown a redevelopment area in lieu of creating a DDA or a PSD or a CIA or any other alphabet that I'm missing here. and still pursue the redevelopment liquor license just like Pontiac did, because they are functioning as a nonprofit Main Street program just like Franklin. Clarkston is also as well.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
What's our next step?
So does that require, again, a vote by the voters, or that can be done by resolution?
That can be done by resolution through council, through creating a redevelopment area.
So talk about that one small point that Seth brought up too, which is where does this liquor license live? And, because that's really important.
The license, I'm sorry, I didn't hear all the comments, but the license, where the redevelopment liquor licenses would live would be with the local government.
So.
So we would
And assigned to a specific location.
That I don't know.
Okay, I thought I heard somebody say that.
So it's, sorry.
Thank
so
you,
what
John.
would happen is you create this zone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then if you wanted to sponsor, an applicant cannot get this license without the municipality's assistance because it requires a resolution. And so it requires a resolution saying, we want to give one of these licenses, okay? And what that involves is you pass a resolution, then you have to send a map up to the Liquor Control Commission saying this is our economic development zone, and then the treasurer has to perform an affidavit. And like I said, there's a different quota that's established for the economic development zone as opposed to a downtown development authority. The DDA has a lower threshold, but it's still not outrageous. It's a couple, what is it? I don't even know. It's like instead of being like $50,000, it might be $250,000. So there will still be licenses available. There'll just be less licenses available. And then once that happens, you know, resolution, affidavit, map, then they go through the whole liquor license process, and at the end, $20,000. That license stays at that location. There's some, minimum requirements that we talked about before. 25 people have to be seated there, and if the business terminates, the license terminates.
Thank you very much.
Do we want,
Real quick.
I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
Typically, how long does that process take?
Which process? To get a liquor license?
The DD, what you just
Oh,
mentioned.
to establish a DDA? I'm not sure. I don't do, that's municipal law, you know, I just do liquor licensing stuff. I just know that once it's established, I know how to get a liquor license, that's all.
And don't confuse the two of creating a redevelopment area.
Right.
Right.
Versus creating a DDA.
Right,
You can
They're
create a
different, yeah.
redevelopment area in
That's what we want to do.
right. And so those licenses are still available. It's just the threshold for getting one with the state is a higher threshold as far as money spent in that development area. But it's over a 5-year period of time, and I'm sure there's gonna have been, I see it, we're running short.
Well, no, I mean, no. These are all very important things.
Okay, so I just know that even if, here's the thing, if you guys are willing to work on making more licenses available up and down Franklin, there are tools for you to do it. The woman up at Liquor Control Commission, if you want to talk to her, she's the director of licensing. Her name is Sarah Weber. She has a whole staff. I can introduce you to her. She's great, okay? They have a whole group of people up there that work with municipalities. So,
this seems like something that the Main Street organization really ought to take the lead on, or is it or do we want to?
They've been talking about it and knew that Lisa and
No,
Raja
right.
were coming to us.
Right.
But that's a whole nother sort of conversation.
Yeah,
Right,
absolutely.
right,
And-
but
and-
we still need to gather all of the
Yes,
facts and what's
yeah.
the development plan.
So the
and-
point is,
Yeah.
the Liquor Commission group can make an analysis and a recommendation, but we can move forward with
We can move forward with this one.
assembling a way to have a
Yeah.
second liquor
Okay,
license.
so let the liquor control,
Yeah.
okay, that's fine with me. I
You
just
want me
want to
at
make
the
sure
meeting.
somebody
I mean,
picks up
that's-
the ball on this one.
We don't want to, we obviously don't want to turn anybody away in this
Yeah.
situation.
Okay. So,
The other question to me would be which takes longer, because I know if like one is more ready than the other, is that DD?
So it sounds like the
is which one
redevelopment is faster.
The redevelopment area would be faster than the DDA because you have to go through the process of creating the TIF plan, working a negotiation out with the county.
But you don't need a vote, right, for
No.
either, with the other one, we have to
The other
wait
one,
till.
the other one would be faster because of the layers involved of creating the DDA.
okay.
Yeah.
Wait.
so I hear what you're saying.
Well, I'm
I don't
asking
know
what he
whether or
said,
not-
actually.
Because the new license, even if it's a DDA license or an economic development license, it'll still be a new license.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So under your current ordinance, you probably
Right.
still need to vote.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
So you may want to think about amending it.
Yeah.
No,
Maybe I do.
Agreed.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a hairball, really.
Okay, so Mike Seltzer, it's in your court for now?
Not Seltzer.
In terms of,
No, it's Mark, Kathy. and I.
Myself.
I'm sorry, is it,
Myself.
oh, Mark, I'm sorry.
And David.
Okay, Mark.
Myself, Kathy.
Okay, I thought it was Mike, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Is that okay? You-
Yeah,
you-
100%, we're ready to go.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're ready.
Okay, that's cool.
I think we're actually in agreement on this across the
And then,
board.
Bill.
and then
we have
next
somebody
month
in the
we can, yes.
I'd like to make a comment. Originally, I came to support Lisa and make a statement in support of her, but my name is Bob Hamilton. I live at 31275 Franklin Road and have lived there the past 32 years. This path you're going down about having 3 bars in Franklin, or 5 bars in Franklin, or 10 bars in Franklin, I think this is getting a little silly in terms of how many bars are actually needed in this town. As best I know from Lisa, her plan is not to have a bar. This is something different. I assume the Franklin will actually be a bar, and my understanding is Grey Dog Cafe would be something different than that. Here's what I'd like to say. I've been a client of Lisa's studio for the last 9 years. I have a standing weekly appointment, and she's also a good friend of mine. She has plans for a cafe, something that's highly desired and highly needed in Franklin. She's spoken to that. I wanted to say something about Lisa, the person, and why the council should support her. Lisa began her fitness business operating out of a school bus. She moved from the school bus to upstairs at her current location. She then took over the downstairs of her current location, and then more recently bought the entire property. Lisa is a proven business operator with a long track record of success in Franklin. She'll succeed with this cafe where others have not. And she also has a career, if not a lifetime, commitment to fitness and health and well-being. And what could possibly be better for Franklin than someone like that operating a cafe and holding a liquor license? She's well-known among many Franklin residents, has an impeccable business reputation, and I would encourage this council to give her your full support. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening. Hi, Mike. I'm here in support of Raja Brazda and Tangerine. What I'd like to say about Wanda McGlone from Paul Boutique Pet Shop. Thank you, Roger. I am currently the vice president in Main Street. So what I know about Raja is that she's laser focused on expanding her business. When I think of Raja, I think of the word visibility. She is always up front with helping this community. I see her almost as a pillar when it comes to volunteering. Not only does she volunteer her time and her staff, but she volunteers herself. She, for the Halloween party, she's out there serving. For the Block Street party, she's out there serving. And when I say serving, I'm talking about she's there along with her staff, with spending her money and supporting this community. With respect to, I have attended several of her wine tastings, and I can tell you, she's ready, set, go. This is someone that has the traction already within this, receiving this license and pivoting to open up this, this bar. I strongly suggest that the council look at the candidate that is ready to go quicker. Not only that, we speak of, Raja has another career where she is in the medical devices. So she is a multi-dynamic human being. So I think it would be very prudent that we look at Raja seriously. Again, she is a pillar in this community. When we need to store balloons, we all go there. When we need to have meetings, we all go there. When it's time to volunteer, she rolls up her sleeves, she donates her money and her time. Thank you.
Okay, I think we're good for now. Let's,
Move on. Move on?
you're okay? Okay, I thought you said hold on, move on. Okay.
Those were both great presentations.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yep.
Much appreciated.
Okay, let's move on with special reports. The only comments I make relate to the bicentennial. A week from yesterday, Sunday, June 23rd, the next event, the Strawberry Festival. Franklin used to have strawberry festivals every year, so this one in the green in front of the church, 11:30 to 1 p.m. June 23rd. So stop by and be part of it. Ming the Magnificent Magician will be there, music, good family event. Next thing after that, on July 13th, the big 200th birthday party, 4 to 6:30 p.m. The library's the coordinating group on that one. So that's all I have. Council, any specifics?
I have one. Pam and I got the very sad news that our friend Lou Eads, former council member and community supporter, has passed away. We mentioned at the last meeting that he had gone recently into hospice and he lost his battle with cancer. There will be a memorial service for Lou on Friday, June 21st at the First Presbyterian Church in Birmingham, starting at 10 a.m. It will be live streamed, and anybody that wants to make a memorial contribution can do so to Dogs Incorporated, 4210 77th Street East, and that's Palmetto, Florida, 35221. If you knew Lou and Pat, you knew that they were very devoted to rescue pets, and this is a charity of their choice. So on behalf of the family and Pam and myself, who are both close to Lou and Pat and love them, love him and love Pat, I just wanted to let everybody know. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mike, that was a good job.
Any other council?
Nope.
Okay, Roger, you, Minister?
Within the last month, we've had quite a bit of discussion about GFL. And the first issue was the outrageous amount of price increase that they were suggesting for the next contract year. And then that was followed up by the announcement that Priority Waste is buying up GFL. There's been some exchange back and forth, particularly today, verifying that Priority is committed to continuing service to Franklin no matter what. There had been some concern expressed about not getting left without solid waste pickup. That's been addressed. Leadership from both GFL and Priority Waste will be meeting with David and Mike and I next Monday for a discussion about how we get there. So I wanted to bring you up to speed on that. I know that was concerning and should have been. I think we're okay. I'm not sure what that's going to mean in terms of cost or any of that sort of stuff. That stuff's got to be worked out.
Did they respond to your reference to the agreement and the rollover?
Yes.
And was there any pushback?
That their pushback was that it had to be my mutual agreement. And the implication was, good luck with that.
Well, we mutually agree.
Yeah, I know. I told them that.
7 of us do, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's an interesting asterisk.
And Mike, we don't know where they're going to go in terms of what they're going to do in terms of rates, what Priority Health is, and I think that's going to be a key part of the conversation.
And they are formerly Rizzo.
I don't know that.
Yeah.
What about other options, like, isn't there Waste Management, isn't that another company that used to
That's
be?
GFL bought.
Oh, that's what GFL
who they are.
bought.
That's who was praying.
What they're selling is the residential portion of GFL services.
I see.
And they will continue the other larger content businesses and stuff that they have to pay.
All right, so we're going to meet with them next Monday, and we'll
Okay. Work it
report
out.
accordingly.
Right, okay. Anything else, Roger?
No, sir.
Okay, Planning Commission, Stuart?
By mutual agreement. How is that?
Good evening, trustees. As a report for the Planning Commission from last month's meeting, we have discussed the golf cart ordinance and have a public hearing in our next meeting this month to go over with the public the proposed ordinance before passing it on to council, and barring any changes that require another public hearing, we should be able to pass it on to council next month. So, depending on how the public hearing goes. Also, we opened a public hearing for the Excident Systems application for the new pole along 13 Mile. In lieu of closing the public hearing, we left it open due to a disagreement between the road commission and the Excident application. They are in discrepancy of how far off the road they allowed to have the cell phone pole. The road commission does not allow a pole within 10 feet of the road, I believe. And so I believe it was 60 feet from the center of the road, which is too far into the woods for Excident. So there's a discrepancy going on there. Hoping to have a resolution between those parties before we can move forward and close that public hearing. So it's still open, meaning we will have time in our next meeting to go over the public hearing. Those are the main highlights from last month's meeting.
Okay.
Any questions?
Questions?
I do. So in light of the conversation today about approval of the second license going to the voters, understanding there's an ordinance for that. So I guess what I'd like to throw on the table is between Pete and the Planning Commission, take a look at what is that ordinance, and I would support doing away with it. Frankly, this seems like unnecessary bureaucracy. So this is, hour one of understanding that we have something on the books. I'd like to ask yourself and Pete, start talking about it and see what is that ordinance and how should we modify that to make this process much easier.
So I agree, I appreciate that. Also, and I also ask if we could find out what zoning requirements are necessary to create the development zone, if that's.
No, not even that. The thing
But I'm
I'm
just
talking
saying as part of.
A second item.
A second item, is a second item, yes.
That's the second item. But the first item I'm asking for is on the book, we have our second license we can, in a sense, award, if you want to call it that, allow to purchase.
Mhm.
I want to remove that requirement to wait for a public election for that. What would it take to take that away from it?
What would we have to do, Peter?
Is it an ordinance, or you're saying
I
ordinance?
don't know.
Is
Is it in the charter?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, wait.
It's a charter?
So it's in the charter
as well.
Well, then it's a charter amendment.
Then, yeah, that's.
So if we make a charter amendment, we have to go before the voters.
Right.
All I'm asking is for Stuart to start investigating what is exactly, what would the steps needed to be. If it's a charter thing, great. If it's ordinance, that's fine. But let's start the conversation.
Just a comment, because state law governs how those licenses are allocated, it's by population, it may be a moot point, because our population isn't going to expand unless the state law changes. Am I right about that,
I'm not
Peter?
asking to add
Yeah, I think
additional
you guys are
ones.
both right. So you have the charter here that
You-
says
the additional one.
the sale of liquor, beer, or wine for the consumption on premises is prohibited unless approved by the majority of electors at a general or special election. Now, that can be modified or changed. And if you do the economic reinitiation, you could change the charter and allow for the economic development to take place.
So
So-
are you, so you may, okay, so if we want to create an economic development zone that includes that special class of liquor, liquor license, do we need to get approval from the voters for that? Because it involves,
Can I reframe the question?
Yeah, you're using a third term. You're saying economic development.
well,
No, hang on, let me reframe the entire discussion.
well, wait a second, I'm not even done talking.
Hold on a second. Go ahead, Pam.
Just let me put a period at the end of my sentence, if you don't mind. I'll do better. So in the discussion with Seth and John Bry, some options were presented to be able to award liquor licenses. One of them was a DDA, another one was an economic development zone, and there's probably another one. My question is, given Mark's comment, if we move ahead and create such a zone or a DDA, whichever way the village decides to go, and that involves a liquor license, are we subject to the charter constraints to be able to award liquor licenses within those zones
Yeah.
or through a DDA? Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
I think so.
I think
eliminate-
it would be.
Because your charter is your governing document, right?
Okay, so,
So
okay.
there's a way, we could put it to the voters in November, but I think have to look, but I think our deadline is August, so we'd have to move on it rather quickly. We want to have the voters vote on to remove that language.
So just as, I mean, we can take it and talk about it, but at the same time, and if this is something that more expediency, then I would recommend that we don't go through the planning commission, to draft a charter ordinance, rather if the since you're gonna meet on Monday as the liquor license committee, if you have if it's a recommended verbiage that we can put into, in the voters' hands to change the charter, then that would probably faster register for the voting to meet the August deadline with wording and everything. Because if we take it on, we might slow it down.
Sure, understood. So the words used before it was ordinance.
Yeah.
Now the words in the last 10 minutes are charter.
Right.
So I understand the difference.
Okay, good.
So if it's a charter, then we have to have a different strategy amongst ourselves. You know, my intent would be to streamline this whole process as much as possible,
what you're
limit
saying.
the bureaucracy, whether it's the 2 licenses or a 3rd or a 4th, whatever the number is. But I want to make that process easier.
The charter amendment is something that I think we can handle that administratively. It's
We would do
relatively
that.
simple.
We can do that.
Yeah.
So, Roger, pick up the ball on this one and come back with a, yeah,
Yeah.
that's something, okay,
right.
so,
There's a revision, there's an edit. I have to look, I think.
okay.
Thank you.
Do we want the planning commission to look into the redevelopment and the DDA thing?
I think we start with our discussion about that, and then
Okay.
we can move it
Okay.
if we want.
Okay, yeah, open to whatever direction we go.
Respectfully, 15 years ago, Pam and Mary Hepler and I brought a tip to the council, and we were laughed out of the room.
Everybody hated it.
So starting at a planning commission isn't the way to go, because that's just a waste of time, because we
Yeah.
came up with a whole plan and council laughed at us. So here we are.
That
10
doesn't
years
happen.
later.
Here we are.
And he's laughing, yeah.
All right, I think we know.
I wouldn't touch that one
Okay.
if I were you, Stuart.
Okay, Main Street Franklin, is there a report? John Bry didn't come for no
I think it's
reason.
me.
Okay.
And I wasn't coming to talk about liquor licenses, but glad that we got into it a little bit. I think my main reason I was asked to come tonight was to talk about update related to the Pickering Barn, and Pete's here too. About a week or two ago, brought forward to the Main Street Franklin Board that Oakland County allocated $5 million in ARPA funds for a Main Street placemaking and public spaces grant program for the Main Street communities. We were trying to see if we could get a few more communities in on this batch, but we're working against a very tight clock. And we were thinking of the barn as being eligible. So, long story short, we have identified the barn as a potential project to slide into the other 12 Main Street communities that have projects that are pretty much ready to go. And that's the challenge that we have in Franklin. So the ball is really in the local court. So what we're potentially have before us is 60 or 40% of the total cost of the project could be potentially funded through this ARPA allocation at the county for the barn. The problem is that we have all the other 12 communities have site control locked down of where their projects are taking place, as well as how it's going to be, what's going to be used for, mixed use, who's managing it, who controls it, all that good stuff. We're not there yet in Franklin. Our main goal has been trying to find a path to at least get the barn dismantled this fall, which the projections are around $125,000. Commissioner Gershenson has mentioned that she has some funding available through county commissioners that she's interested in putting towards it. My staff at the county been working with the local Main Street staff to put together a crowdfunding grant campaign through MEDC that potentially the state would match up to $50,000. If we raised another $50,000 that could be used towards the dismantling, that's what we wanted to do. Unfortunately, the state had in fine print that the project would have to be completed within the year. So we went back to the state and saying, can they just get it dismantled and pause while they figure out the big picture of ultimately where the barn is going to land and use and all that good stuff. It took them a while, but they basically told us this past Monday, no. We could still do the crowdfunding patronicity campaign, no problem, and we're ready to help you guys launch that. It just won't be matched by the state because they want the barn to be finished within a year, not just the dismantling. So we can still do the crowdfunding piece. The wrinkle with the county's ARPA dollars is all the other communities have the commitment of funds, they have their plans, they have the use, the management of their public placemaking or type projects that are eligible. The county's looking to fund these projects up to 40% of the total cost. The 60% is local level funding, no matter what source it comes from. It could come from different sources. We don't care, but 60% is that. Those projects have to be completed, or I should say those projects have to spend the county's ARPA dollars by September of 2026. Now, federal guidelines say December 2026, but the county's putting a deadline of September 26 because they want to make sure that all the paperwork is in order before they hand off everything in December. So our funds would have to be spent by that time, but the challenge we're running into, we request an application, which Susan and everyone has, the budget form that they have that they're working on, but we can't necessarily answer the question yet of where the barn is going. That needs to be determined. Our staff at the county has put together some concept renderings for you guys, so we can use those. But we also need to kind of figure out the bigger picture for the barn long-term and how much that's going to cost and how it's going to be managed, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't sound like we're quite there yet because we have to have all this ready to go to the commissioners for final approval by June 21st.
June 21st of this year.
Yeah, June 21st, in order to keep going through the process. So what I'm going to ask my boss, who's currently in the air to Germany, knowing what we know now with Franklin, and we're trying to find a path, is I'm asking the question of him, can we use potentially some of the ARPA funds from the grant program for at least the dismantling, to help fund the dismantling, even though the long-term picture of the barn isn't quite clear yet. And what that would mean in terms of the math is if I get the green light to do that, and I'm going to send him a message tonight, and hopefully he'll see it and answer it here in the morning, that that would potentially mean roughly $31,000 coming your way out of the ARPA grant for the dismantling. Now, if we can get some of these other things figured out, we can start working with the village and Main Street to start feeding together the stack of information that would be required through two other grant sources from the state. But they're all going to ask the same question. Where is it going to go? Who's going to manage it? How big of the budget is the project ultimately? And we don't have any of that right now, kind of nailed down. So the best I can bring to you tonight is that we will work with you guys to push forward the crowdfunding campaign, and we bootstrap this to get the money raised to dismantle the barn using Commissioner Gershensen's support. And if I can get the green light to potentially get you guys in there, at least under the dismantling phase, even though it's a little bit different than the other 12 communities, but that's about the best that I think with the time frames that we're working under and with some decisions yet to be made locally, about the best I can potentially bring you guys on this first phase of the barn. Not the best news, but not totally out of realm of possibilities yet. But ultimately, some decisions have to be made locally about what's the long-term plan for the barn, because Oakland County is going to ask the same questions, and the other funding sources that Ryan from the state are going to ask the same questions.
How much is it for Marsha Gershenson?
I believe, I want to say it was 25?
50.
50, okay, 50,000, yeah. Numbers had kind of fluctuated there back and forth. I wasn't sure where it landed. So we saw Commissioner Gershenson at the main event last Thursday and brought her up to speed so she's aware. So I'd say we want to touch base with her staff and see what she wants to do to proceed. And if you want us to move forward with the crowdfunding campaign with Patronicity, our staff has been working with your staff to kind of get a campaign ready to go, and we can launch that at any time. But unfortunately, the state won't count it as one of their matching grant opportunities because the barn won't be back together within a year.
Okay.
So where do we go from here, folks? How do we answer the question? Is Main Street Organization addressing these issues, or do we need a separate group to look at it, or?
Roger, I'd like to hear from you on this one as well. Well, part of it, and I don't wish to put you in a bad spot. I think my sense is, and I think I'm speaking for Pete as well, that there are a number of decisions that have to be made. It's not clear who should make those. And I think the Main Street Board is willing to, but I believe the feedback I've gotten from them, it's a little murky. What's theirs to make? What's the village council's to make? What's an administrative decision to make? Specifically, the ownership, taking ownership of the package of boards, which used to be a barn. How do we make that transaction happen? Does that require the council's blessing or approval? I'm not sure.
Ultimately, we would need, either from the county or from those future state funds, they're going to be looking for some type of commitment to say, here's where the rest of the funds are coming from. It may not be all from council, it could be from different sources, but also they would want state and county to say, here's ultimately, who's going to own and manage the barn.
There's the other matter of, the scenario that the Main Street Board has been pursuing has been putting it on the triangle, the property catty corner to the cider mill. But I don't believe the owner has been approached formally. We don't have the options, the scenarios kind of mapped out yet. We have organized, we've got a task force named, and Susan's pulling together a meeting. David's on that task force. I am, Roger is, and Gary Roberts, there's a couple of other people, Susan. Our hope was they were going to help map that out. The good news is we have access to some ARPA money, big money, like $250,000. The bad news is, we don't know how to use it just yet. So I'm seeking advice from council on this one, and where do you want to go on this? But those are the issues as I see them.
I don't know what to add to that, because material that we spent some time on last week provided some process work for us in terms of how to involve different folks at different states.
Yeah.
But it didn't get to addressing.
We need an answer.
Well, and frankly, when we did that, we were under some different information about how much money was available and what time frame for that.
Yeah.
So the stuff that John has mentioned this evening has sort of thrown me for a loop, because I was thinking that we had more stuff close at hand, and that it was going to be easier to get through the process that we had outlined for ourselves, which was to get the barn moved before it was taken down by a bulldozer, and give ourselves, the community, and others time to work through a planning process and fundraising that would be done sometime within a year or so of the thing actually being taken down. And I see that particular strategy not holding up, and that concerns me.
Yeah, and I'll just add, when I brought the information about the ARP opportunity, once I got the approval to bring it to you guys, once we knew where the budget stood at the county with the ARPA funds that were already committed to the other communities, that was under the thinking that some of the other details about the barn in terms of location, everything had been flushed out, but it doesn't appear that that's the case.
And don't we have to make a decision by fall?
Yes,
Correct.
the time frame I've been told about the barn is the barn needs to go by this fall.
Yeah, the developer wants it out there.
And we don't even know if the person who owns the property, how much they want, how that even is would work.
There needs to be, as a part of the strategy that we were talking about, is somebody needs to be assigned to spend time with the owner of that land, talking about whether or not they even want to do it. Because we don't have that yet. There's been some initial support for the idea, but we don't have an affirmation.
I could just, the word formal was used. You know, he's a businessman. The piece of land there is not doing anything for him right now, so he's more than eager to enter into an agreement, a sale agreement, a lease agreement, but it hasn't been presented to him formally.
No, well, and there hasn't been what, the legitimate negotiation that you're gonna do with any exchange of value, to talk about what he might play as part of the role in this too. So,
Be it a landlord or a seller.
right,
Because that's one of the key components the other Main Street communities have in place in the ARPA process. They all have their site control in place.
We do not,
So
not
the
yet.
only way we'd have site control is if we put it on our property and attach it to the Krieger barn.
Or at least that
or
piece of land.
work out an agreement with
Or
the
at least
owner.
that piece of
Right.
land.
I'm not ruling that out at all,
I
but we
see.
just got to get to it.
I see.
And if we have an idea of what it would cost to put the barn back together, that's another piece that needs to be determined.
And what if they want a liquor license?
To me, but that's.
Can I see you in the kitchen?
That may be the best use for it. Right, right.
So we got some big issues to resolve.
Yeah. And it's, no matter what, ARPA money from the county, MEDC funds, they're all gonna ask the same questions. And ultimately, Franklin has to decide those questions.
So how
So
are we gonna get these
I'm
questions
trying to
answered?
bring you some additional dollars.
You're
I'll
doing
see
a
what I
great
can do.
job, John.
Right.
You're doing such a good job, we're paralyzed. That's,
Yeah, I mean, thank you for everything you've
Yeah.
done.
Right, we
That
greatly
can't be underscored.
appreciate, but
So
Yeah.
my
A lot.
task tonight is to email Brett, my boss, and say, hey, here's where we stand in Franklin. Can we maneuver this in a way that it meets the baseline criteria to try to get them something in this window of opportunity that we have to help at least on the first phase while the bigger picture is figured out?
do we know enough to complete that ARPA application, John?
If I get the okay to do it for the dismantling phase, yes, we would.
Okay. So the question is, how fast can we make the decisions about placement? I know that there are a couple of community members interested in moving the barn into the village property. I haven't seen any proposals or anything other than I wish, but maybe we should look at that.
Yeah.
Main Street Board's moved ahead a little bit on the commercial property.
Yeah.
I think what we probably need to do is have a work session and develop some scenarios, and I think I think it's in the Main Street Board's hands and this
Has the-
task force.
Sorry, has the FCA said anything? Because I know I think it was in the last meeting, there was a discussion, or just one quick passing comment about it. Has there been any further discussion?
Well, we haven't had our meeting between then and now, but the idea is if you needed a non-for-profit to be the sponsor,
gotcha.
we would be willing to do it. We don't want it on the FCA property.
Yeah, I don't want to take up the
But
property.
we're willing to be the sponsor.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks for the clarity.
Yeah.
So that's the best I can update you on it as this continues to evolve.
So what's our plan, Village Council? You mentioned a workshop, do we want to do something separate with this group is one person willing to be the quarterback on this one and try and pull the plans and numbers together?
it's hard to see how we get to a point where we can commit to anything by the fall. I mean,
I don't
given the
disagree
fact
with you,
that it's
Mike,
the
yeah.
middle of June,
Yeah,
and we've been talking about this for so long, I'm not optimistic at this point.
Just to clarify, by fall of,
To be able to commit to the removal of the barn
yeah.
from the property, as they have indicated, they want it gone by September, which
It
is
wasn't September
tomorrow.
per se, but it was fall.
Okay, October. I don't,
November.
Trying to get as much breathing room as I can.
yeah.
fall goes to December 20th, yeah.
Well,
Don?
I mean, the longer we can get an extension, the more
I have one question for John.
possibilities.
In getting money from whatever governmental agency it is that we seek money from, whether it's the money just to get control of the barn or money in the future to help refurbish the barn, is a project that involves private businesses and private land municipal partnership versus the scenario where it's a municipal project and it goes on municipal land and it goes to enhance something for the village of Franklin, as I've been saying, anew, this,
The wedding venue.
you know, is it have a better chance of getting traction if it's a municipal project and not something that, at the end of the day, is owned by a third party for profit?
Possibly. I mean, it depends on the sources of the funds. You know, all the projects that are currently in the pipeline for the county's ARPA dollars are all projects that are being used for public use, public space. They're owned by either the local Main Street program or they're owned by the unit of local government.
That's my issue.
So that's,
Here all along.
that's kind of the common theme that they all have. There's some funding, I've mentioned in the past, the state is still toying around with what's known as RAP 3, Revitalization and Placemaking Grant, that they hope to maybe announce something in September from what I was told last Monday. That, again, they're looking to fund potential projects that either are being driven by a nonprofit or the local unit of government, but they've left room that if there's a combination of maybe the property is owned by the nonprofit or the unit of local government, and they sublease and partner with a private entity, they're open to that. That's possible.
I would just add that I think that farmers markets are, at least I know of one example. You have for-profit vendors in basically a public place. So
Yeah.
that's a scenario, like an example of a scenario you just
Yeah,
described.
and example related to that Pete just mentioned, one of the ARPA projects in the pipeline is with Rochester. They're taking a surface parking lot that they own, they've acquired a building next to it, and they're creating this whole campus outdoor entertainment sort of local public gathering space. Because they don't have one. If you think about downtown Rochester, they don't have sort of the town square. So this is them kind of creating that.
Yeah, I think one of the big deterrents is we don't have public money to put into this. And
They don't either.
Which is not necessarily the end, because if we're talking about the first phase here, and Commissioner Gershenson is looking to put some funding in, and we're doing the crowdfunding piece,
Right.
it doesn't necessarily have money, it doesn't necessarily have money coming from the village government per se,
Right.
as long as we can just kind of get there to the math.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, ideally, I think most granting entities like to see some type of local commitment, but if they orchestrate it from other means, that's okay.
Yeah.
So one idea that the Main Street Board's talked about, and I think maybe a next step is to create some scenarios, you know, that the council could react to. For example, one scenario is put it in the back by the Krieger barn, and the village operates some kind of a barn with some purpose.
A wedding venue,
of-
like a venue.
Or something like that, and creates a business then and runs it. Another one would be something like, riffing off of what you talked about, John, is the village enters into an agreement with the owner of that property, perhaps resulting in ownership of that property, or leasing the property. The village owns the barn, leases the barn back to an entrepreneur or a business to develop it, and the village then is the landlord.
Yep.
And advantages of that, there's a big investment, but it does create a revenue stream that could be used by a not-for-profit to invest in other troubled properties in the village. So we create a new stream of money coming in that would not put us always on our heels when there's a problem with the building. And we've got 3 of those right now, or 2 at least, 1 on deck. So I wonder if a next step would be to have a work session with the council soon on what those real options would be, and so council could weigh the advantages or disadvantages, and if the council wants to take a risk and take on a new role like landlord, or not, or not at all, and that's certainly an option too. Maybe sell it outright, or put it in storage and forego the grant, maybe it's too early, I don't know. So anyway, and I'd be happy to work on that with others. But I think it's time to not throw around ideas. I think it's time to kind of home in on.
To me, there's two options, the two you said, that's it. So do we have the desire to flesh out those options and make a decision? Or are we just, don't waste our time, folks? What's your feeling? I don't know.
So, I'll speak. My feeling on this, from the get-go, was I didn't want to spend public dollars on the project, and so I was willing to the extent that it was investment, of course, the resources of the planning commission, our consultant's time is certainly part of that, but I still stand by that. I don't want to get into the business of being a landlord. I don't want to introduce liabilities to the village as well as the taxpayers. I think we need to figure out how to make the Krieger house and the barn that's currently unused, at least somewhat usable, before I want to explore this. And so, again, if we haven't gotten traction as far as what the actual future state is going to look like, again, previously supported a public-private partnership for, yes, we can help access the grant funds if somebody ultimately is going to be the driver and future owner of the building, but for me, I do not want it to be a liability for the village.
Can I offer a suggestion maybe, Pam? So we have our task force formed. If we could have a quick meeting with our task force, and perhaps we could have a workshop with the council before the next council meeting. If that works, Bill, I think we could do that.
I'm open to that.
Open to that.
Yeah, like I said,
Okay.
anything that drives us towards a conclusion,
Right.
rather than kind of this
Keep on
continued
moving,
conversation.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Fair enough.
Okay, so I guess
So should we do that?
let's do that. Roger, would you find a time when
Yeah.
we can,
Sorry.
and this is the issue, is those two options. Are we or aren't we?
Well, those were the two options that council was presented with in January and approved pursuing the commercial option until Pete hit a wall and would have to come back on the
Right.
public option. So I think we're still pursuing that commercial option. It's just what are the terms and
Right.
Yeah,
what does the
I
village
mean,
want or
we
not
could fill
want?
that application out. We could do it, but obviously, more time is gonna give us a better project.
I struggle with the feasibility of making this happen. I just don't see that path. I really struggle with that.
Right.
So I
For all the
hope,
promise, Pete,
go ahead.
for all the promised ideas, I mean, I get it, but I'm really struggling with, is there a viable path to make this happen?
I'd love to share it with you. Because I think that there's a
Well-
lot of investors lined up who feel that it would be viable.
We have
We
the
have a lot
most
of business
successful
ideas.
entrepreneur right here in the room, Lisa McDonald.
Yeah.
Lisa McDonald buys a barn.
So,
Oh, you know,
There's a whole
reason,
thing.
Pete, so,
I'm sorry.
so,
wheels and we can move it around.
without the wheels, it could.
all right.
Okay, well, let's
Pete,
wrap
so-
this up, but Roger,
So I don't see a viable path to make this happen. I don't have a clear understanding what the vision is. I mean,
Right,
after
so-
all these months, we're still struggling
Well-
to.
If we got our task force together, we'd love to be able to present it to you at the next council meeting or at a workshop before the
Okay,
council.
What I'm
let's,
saying is that we don't have, this is the plan, this is the vision, this is the dollars needed, these are the
You see-
investors willing to,
Yeah.
put down the money. I don't
No,
see
you,
that yet.
great points. And you see how this is, in order to get the funding, to make it happen, you gotta have your plan all together. To get your plan all together, you need architects, you need people lined up, you need commercial real estate people to start writing up contracts. They all wanna get paid to do that kind of work. So it's kind of a vicious circle. It looked like we were gonna get the floodgates open, and I think we still can. It's at a smaller level. But there's all these concurrent events that have to take place. We would love, as a planning commission, we would love to have developed the idea further. I understand the budget constraints and time constraints, and we have a lot of things we're working on. But I'd love to be able to get this vision together. I think we have a great task force right now, qualified people, smart professionals in the industry who know real estate markets, and I think we can get a good vision together. I'd like to be able to present it to you.
So
Have
let's,
you ever spoken to Terry Nosen about this? Would
All
he-
the time.
Okay, so would
Terry's
he
a-
invest some money?
Terry's a house builder.
Yeah.
So Al Ludwig is a good commercial real estate person. He's gonna help us out. And I think we have a real good team together where we'll be able to bring some expertise to it.
Well, let's set up a meeting then. One last.
we were in a national park over the weekend, and they had some historic buildings that they wanted to preserve, and the solution was lease those undeveloped buildings to an entrepreneur for a long term, with the understanding that the entrepreneur will upgrade the building, and it's worked. I don't know all the details to it, it's the first time I've ever seen that, but
Yeah,
maybe something like that could work, I don't know. But let's sit down, and as soon as we can get a group together, and Pete, if you can fill us in on where you are, and then we gotta decide either we're going or
If
we're
it's
not.
all of us, it has to be announced, right? It has to be a special meeting.
Well, what we'll do is get this task force meeting that we've been talking about, so that those folks have something to present to you. That has some substance to it. And at the point that we have that, then we'll contact you guys about getting a special meeting set up. And yes,
public
it
meeting.
needs to be announced.
Right,
I think that's a good plan.
okay, let's do it. Okay,
Very good.
thank you.
Will you include when you're in your information that you provide us? I really am very interested in the idea of I understand everybody says, oh, well, the Krieger isn't making us any money, but the property isn't large enough, the space isn't large enough. I think it's very exciting to think about the idea of having weddings and bar mitzvahs and birthday parties and graduations in a very large barn. Personally, I think that's where it could be really great, and the village could actually make money doing it, because you see all these people, my son is working for Star Treks, and they do all these things at barns, they have weddings at barns, they have all these things, and I just think that it's such an opportunity that I would love to at least consider it. So, okay.
Okay, John, anything else?
So what I think I'm hearing, if it's okay with you all, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna confirm with my boss to see if we can find a path here to get you guys in this ARPA round to at least support the deconstruction of the barn and get you what we can. If I get that okay from him, that we can meet the baseline expectations of the program with the county. I will reach out to Commissioner Gershenson and confirm where she stands, so we know. And if you guys give us the green light, our team at the county will work with you guys, and we will get that crowdfunding campaign launched.
Okay,
We're pretty much, I think, we're pretty much ready to go. Yeah, we're ready to go. So, you give us the green light, we'll go. So I will follow up on those things overnight, tomorrow morning, and let you know where we are.
very good, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on here. The Pathways Committee, I think we were gonna take that off the agenda, weren't we? Or did you want to?
My recommendation on the Pathways Committee is that the subject around the pathways be moved back to the Planning Commission, so that we can use their resources, their bandwidth. It previously lived with the Planning Commission. A lot of good work and legwork has already been there, so the historical knowledge sits on it. I talked to the Planning Commission, the members, Stuart, all about whether or not that's viable. And it sounds like there's not an objection to that, so that'd be my recommendation. We've had trouble coordinating it. I like having a little bit more solidified devotion to it.
Stuart, are you okay with that?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with doing it. At least it gives it a dedicated meeting time
Okay.
for it, because I think part of the trouble we're having was not having a regular
Okay.
discussion on it. So, like Trustee Sully said, we've had the history on it,
With
so.
Nancy's sitting back at the, Nancy's the expert on this pathway thing, HRC put together this whole thing, and she's the resource, so make sure you utilize all the knowledge that she has, so, okay.
So, just as a point of order with regards to that, did you have funding for the committee for pathways, or already allocated, or?
Not to the subcommittee specifically, it was general funds, and Roger, you can correct me.
There's some stuff in the budget tonight that,
To the topic, not the subcommittee.
right.
One of the things that we attempted to do is put some money into the budget that would allow more legwork to be
Right,
done
right.
on the pathways, but the money that's necessary to actually get them built and that sort of stuff is not available.
Understood. The legwork is what we're
Right.
focused on right now.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so as long as we can work that on the budget, that'd be great.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
because HRC is a great resource, but I think they charge us a smell free, right?
I don't know, Stuart, whether you heard what Bill reported earlier, but the Rashid Tlaib has put funding for one of the projects that HRC is most far along on, in for funding in the amount of $121,000. And if you're interested in what the calculations are behind that, I have the information here this evening, but we won't know for a while until the actual appropriations are made.
Some of the things that, I mean, I think it makes sense for us to dig into also based on the things we've been hearing with regards to Main Street and regards to the Pathways program. I mean, those are all bringing communities together. There could be funding available through that as well. So I think the Pickering Barton's kind of opened up doors and venues for us to figure out how we can also fund
Right.
this.
It's kind of like you got 10 options, okay, what are the costs of those 10 options? What's the feasibility? Let's take the easy one first. But what are those? Yeah, okay. Cool,
Thank you, Stuart.
very good. So we'll leave this on the agenda or should we?
Well, do you want to move it to planning or not?
Yeah.
Well, no, then we don't really need it on the agenda.
Right.
Planning can
Right.
talk about it in their report, so we'll scratch this from next month's agenda. Okay, we have a budget that we need to approve,
You need to have the public hearing.
and we have a public hearing, correct? And that's, my objective is to open a public hearing regarding the adoption of the fiscal year 2024-25 budget beginning July 1st of this year. And just a little background, the general fund budget is the biggest chunk, about $2.1 million. Of that, $1.1 million is police, which leaves us $1 million in other expenses, such as community programs, capital fund, building and grounds, things like that. So,
Hauling roads.
I'm sorry?
Hauling roads, cutting grass.
Correct, building and grounds, and, yep. So, with that, is there any public comment? Don't all jump to the podium at the same time? If not,
This is just a point of question. I know that we have our millage from the roads that we've done that we did a number of years ago. And granted, I apologize if not reviewed your complete budget, but as far as road maintenance, resurfacing, maintaining those roads pristine roads that we have a millage on currently. How is that millage being allocated? Because towards maintaining and helping those roads last the 15 years that they're supposed to last.
sure.
Most of our road maintenance is actually funded by the state. The state's philosophy is that all of the roads in the state are part of an overall network that they try to help maintain. To that end, the State Department of Transportation allocates money to us for major streets and for minor streets. And we get somewhere in the neighborhood of $200,000 a year between those two programs to fund those various expenses. And frankly, our road snow removal and that sort of stuff is also paid for out of those funds.
But I'm more specifically referring to the monies that were that received through the millage itself.
I think we've spent all of
Well,
that.
you're talking about the bond issue?
The bond
that-
issue,
Right.
yes.
Yeah, the millage is paying for the bonds, and that was part of what was approved. The amount of money that was sold was obtained by selling the bonds was used primarily for the resurfacing of every one of the streets in Franklin, 21-some miles worth of streets, and a whole bunch of corollary work in terms of some drainage issues and that sort of stuff. And then a significant portion of it was used for the streetscape program. The sidewalks between one end of Franklin Road and 13 Mile. That was all used, that was all that money was used for. And most of that is gone.
Do we know how much is left?
The money that's left pays the bond, that's it.
Okay.
Yep.
Roger, what about major roads and local streets? I mean, I think Stuart's question was, how are we budgeting funds, or how are we planning ahead to maintain the roads? And I think that's done through those funds.
That's Act
as
51
needed.
money from the state.
Act 51,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
Those are the funds that I was just describing.
The 2,000.
Yeah.
200,000.
We're not going to have another complete resurfacing program anytime soon.
Right.
And
But part of that stays that off, though, is
But at
actual
some point we go
maintenance.
and do the cracks.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Do crack sealing and that sort of stuff. And
Yeah.
every year, there is in fact an assessment done on the condition of our roads. And out of that assessment, there are spots identified where interim work is necessary, and we actually schedule that out with our own crews.
All right.
Does that answer your question?
It does. To me, it's a huge ticket item. I know it's not, it always gets more expensive to do it, and if we're not maintaining, or if we're not doing appropriate maintenance of the roads, then we will have to have another millage to do a resurface. And, I've lived here for 8 years, and it was a big sticker shock to happen, after 2 years of living here. Anyway, they look great. I want them to stay great, but we have to do something to make sure they stay great, yeah.
Indeed.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing and move on to old business. And the first thing is consider adoption of the 2024-25 budget. I have a motion to adopt the budget.
Motion to adopt.
Is there a second? Do we need an explanation here, or are there questions that council has that we need to discuss?
So in the workshop, we were discussing salaries, and I don't know, did we ever get to resolution? Did we talk about it? I would assume we talk about it now.
We can talk about it now. We didn't resolve anything.
No,
Yeah,
that's what I'm
right,
saying. And
right.
so if we were to do an approval of this budget, where does that leave our previous
I
discussions?
think some of these things we can approve the budget with the understanding that the detail on that is yet to be determined.
And isn't a budget just the allocation of money, not the agreement to spend it?
Yes, but typically what we've done in the past is when the budget's approved, everybody just runs with it. I like your approach. I think that's the way it should be. It hasn't been that way in the past. But I think this should be the guideline, but each individual expense needs to be approved based on its own merits, so.
That's why we do budget amendments all year.
Right.
So who will be that goes back to my question of what's the process going to be then to approve it, right? Like, I totally understand where we're going with, we don't need to necessarily resolve that exact question right now, but who is the approver of those future expenses, and when are they decided?
I think that's a new process that we haven't done before.
In the past, David, Roger, or the administrator has come up with a budget amendment, and we've talked about it here.
But those have always been after the expenses.
Yeah.
But I think you're talking about.
My point is, after we approve this budget and the next pay period comes, what if you extrapolated that over an annual salary, what would that annual salary be based off of? Their current amount or some new amount? That's what's unclear to me.
The budget does not specifically address the salary amounts because they're calculated by individual based on performance and responsibility. And to the extent that during the course of the year those things change, or that there is, for example, in the police contracts, they have a schedule of progression in their salary ranges, there's promotions, there's seniority adjustments, a number of different ways that those changes are made in the course of the year. In developing the budget, you do your best estimates in terms of what those increased costs are likely to be, and then your expectation is to remain inside the budget.
Okay, so, again, back to the question though. You control the salaries of your staff.
That's correct.
Your salary is controlled by,
Council.
okay. So that leaves us with the discussion, at least from that standpoint, remains in, for your salary would be within our hands. But then we still had the discrepancy around the fact that Susan was previously operating off of a combined time, I guess, full-time and half-time job, reducing it down to essentially back to a single job, but the salary was still compensated for doing a job and a half.
My understanding is she's still doing essentially a time and a half or a job and a half. One of the things that we had agreed to in trying to address that circumstance was hiring a part-time person that would take over a collection of responsibilities that both Dana and Susan have responsibility for, and that would even out Susan's time to full-time, basically.
And my point is because I would prefer having two full-time compared to one person fulfilling a job and a half and then a part-time person. But if I approve this budget, that authority goes directly to you and out of my hands.
Council has the ability, I believe, to make determinations in terms of the composition of staff. If they need to or want to adjust what's happening during the course of the year, that's something to talk about. But you're not foreclosed from making those kinds of inquiries or determinations.
Yeah, I think this budget could be approved contingent on our developing a specific salary plan.
Yeah, I mean, this is a difficult situation, because, again, anytime you're talking about somebody's salary, it's a difficult situation. I feel like we put ourselves in a bit of predicament when we put the obligation on Susan for a job and a half.
Sure.
It was intentionally supposed to be part-time, or not part-time, temporary. And now it's turning into full. And the part that I sympathize with is the fact that you make adjustments to your life based off of your income. And now that reduction in her work would result in a reduction in her salary. But I think it's still a necessary conversation because I don't think we're doing anyone a service by having somebody do a job and a half and then somebody part-time, including a detriment to overall what we're paying people, not overall the amount of expense to the taxpayer. And that's how I'm looking at it. And that's why, again, if we can continue the conversation beyond tonight, I'm more than happy to move forward with the budget. I just don't want to lose sight of these two particular issues.
I think certainly salaries are a big issue. I have some concerns about capital funds and capital outlays, and I think we need some more discussion about that. Does anybody else have any other specific things they're not comfortable with in this budget?
Not at this time.
No, that's it.
So maybe what we do is go ahead with this contingent on our having a future meeting related to salaries and capital funds, and, okay.
And we'll feel better when we have more clarity on our waste management contract.
That's a separate
But it's a
budget
big,
item. Well,
yeah.
yeah, but yeah, that's not general fund, but yeah, I don't disagree. That's it'll be a big chunk of money,
I
yeah.
have a question.
Sure.
This is to Roger. I know a conversation thread this year has been settling up with the streetscape contractors. Where is that sitting, and where have we budgeted funds? Or is there any funds in the budget for next year?
Major roads.
In the major roads budget, okay. And that's still an open issue then, correct?
I actually, it's been calculated into the numbers that you see in front of you.
Okay, thank you.
And we have an approximation of what the remaining number is. It's a little over 120,000.
Okay, and you're still working that out with them?
That's right.
All right, thank you. That's what my question was.
And there's stuff in the budget amendment that we're gonna approve later that addresses that, so, okay.
Okay, I'm good with the budget.
Okay, so any other specifics or specific questions? So, so are we okay to approve this budget, subject to a further review of salaries, a further review of capital funds, and I wrote down streetscape, but maybe we're okay with that?
Sounds like we are. It's in the major roads, so
Okay.
we're good.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Outdoor lighting ordinance. Okay.
I think you can go ahead.
We,
Roger, on your way out, do we need anything from Plant Moran? He's here in,
No, actually, we're done.
okay.
Well, the amended.
Oh, the amendment.
the amendment.
Never mind.
Thank you.
Just checking. I didn't want to hold on to you if we didn't need to have you here. Thanks.
Getting all his work done.
do we want to break, or you want to just keep
No.
it going? Let's keep
No.
rolling?
Keep going.
Okay. So the outdoor lighting ordinance, I don't recall the specifics of what we did last month. Can somebody?
It's had a first reading, we came for its second reading, we only had 6 people here.
Okay,
Tabled it, so
Yeah.
we had a full contingency.
Which we do now.
We now have, and we are deciding whether we want.
Motion to approve?
so do we need a motion to approve
Yeah.
this in its second reading? Somebody want to make that motion?
Mark seconded.
Okay.
I have a question. David, did you weigh in on this?
I circulated it for last meeting,
Okay. I don't
and it's
remember
not
seeing-
included in this package.
That's right, so this didn't
This
look
is
like your
not it,
version.
yeah. Yeah, it was circulated last meeting.
All right.
Without that, I think this is a,
I know,
Moot
I
point.
Well,
unfortunately
this
agree.
isn't your last vote.
It's not.
to me, the one issue here is light and that's it.
And that's exactly what I made the
Peter
amendment.
sent a memo around that said, I've reviewed the lighting ordinance, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it
What
looks,
version is that?
I think that
Okay.
wasn't
Supposed to be taken care of.
trustee Sally's version.
Wasn't?
Was not, because I reviewed the packet from the May meeting. I reviewed it again this afternoon, and maybe we should just wait till next month where we have
Yeah.
the same
I-
document.
I
So I'm
think
gonna
that's,
move that we postpone consideration of the second and final reading of the outdoor lighting ordinance until next month, so that we can get the final draft in our hands.
that addresses the light trespass issue.
And the color correction issue.
Right, right. Okay, let's just
Need a
move this
second.
next month.
Need a second.
We need a second? We got a second. And then all in favor, yes.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Now, village sewage and draining proposal, there's a couple letters in there. We need a motion to approve these rates,
Motion to approve the Franklin sewage disposal system,
even though we have.
2024, 2025
I will
rates.
second.
And second, any discussion?
Last month, Rick
Yeah, that was.
talked about the trust fund and asked that we investigate that. I
have that
wonder
right
if
here, yeah.
anything,
So, no, Roger isn't here, that's why I was not gonna say
Okay.
anything. Yes, Roger is supposed to still get us the sewer capital account, what's the term, balance.
yeah, and I
But we
think,
know exactly how much money is sitting in this capital account and what its purpose is. Is it for?
presumably to fight rate increases. I think that was behind what he was saying, is why are you asking for more money if you've got millions sitting in the bank?
So we don't know what Roger's done on this
Huh?
one.
Could it be that much money?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But
Throw-
spend down
You
the-
throw that word around, the
That was very
village.
exciting.
Exactly.
Millions, I want it.
Okay, so let's,
Here comes Raja.
hold on, yeah.
They came in looking for
Watching
donuts.
this box of cookies. Just-
Hey, Roger, we're talking about the sewage disposal system rates and the drain rates. And last month, we talked about knowing how much money is in the county capital fund that we have access to.
If you're talking about WRC,
Yeah.
we have the ability to approve their use of those funds, but we don't have direct access to use the funds ourselves. It's part of what is used to maintain and install equipment in the
Right.
pressure sewer system.
But the question is, how much, do we have excess funds in that
In that
account
account?
that we can use to minimize the rate increase?
I'll have to check on that.
So when do we have to have this thing
I think
approved?
that's an argument that we would have to make now.
Right, well, this is, okay, ending September.
They want us to make a
30th.
decision by July 1.
Yeah, they want to make this effective July 1st.
I think you adopt your budget, and we go head-to-head with them regardless.
But the item on the agenda is the sewage disposal rate system. Are we going to approve what they've proposed?
That's my suggestion.
I mean,
Do we have
in
a
the,
choice?
in the big picture, it's a couple cents.
Right.
Yeah.
A quarter. So for this specific rate increase, we might as well approve it. The bigger question is what is that account that Rick David mentioned last month? What is it, and what are our options of available, what can we do with it? And if it's nothing, other than when we have something that needs to be fixed or maintained or whatever, we call them and say, hey, we need to have something fixed, and they dip into it?
That's correct.
So we can't use it any other way than if
It's-
something's
it's-
broken.
So, yeah.
It's not eligible for use for any other purpose.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so we can't say, hey, we can't charge everyone an extra 4 cents, we'll just pay it for them from the fund, that's not an option.
Okay. So I guess we don't have a motion, nobody made a motion to approve this, did we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a motion and a second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the sewage disposal 2024-25 rates. Any further discussion? If not, in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay. There's also the sanitary drainage rate change that's not on the agenda. My packet has another,
I have it too.
Where are you?
Evergreen Farmington Sanitary Drainage District.
Oh, yeah, this one.
We don't formally participate in
so
It's
that's,
not relevant for
just
us.
ignore that. That's fine with me. Okay,
Oh,
Farmington.
yeah, it's a letter to you. I was surprised as well.
right,
No, we're part of the area, the geographic area.
Yeah.
but we're not part of that.
Okay.
Okay, all right,
But we don't have anything that comes from Franklin that they're
Actually, right,
missing.
it
I didn't
doesn't say
think so,
Franklin in
but
this
okay.
gotcha.
case.
Okay. The update of the Pickering barn,
Did
we
you have a
already
question?
did that, I think?
Yep.
So, are
We
we,
already did that.
We did that.
Yeah, we're done.
That was done,
yeah, we did that,
At
yeah.
Main Street.
it came as a consequence of John making the presentation on Main Street.
Yep.
And we just sort of evolved into
Yeah.
the discussion of the Pickering
Gotcha,
Barn.
that's fine. Then we have consent agenda 3, civic events, from at the Franklin Garden Walk, June 19th, summer solstice, private party, June 20th, music on the Green, August 7th.
I make a
All-
motion to approve the civic event permit applications for the Franklin Garden Walk, the summer solstice dinner, and music on the green.
Second?
Second.
I have a question. Are the ladies that made the request residents of the village? Yes. Okay, I couldn't tell from the application.
Okay,
Is that
Thank
for
you.
the private party?
Yeah.
Or do we charge anyone for a private party? Okay.
okay. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next, budget amendments. There are a couple pages worth of budget amendments proposed dated 5/31/24. And we need a motion to approve these budget amendments.
Motion to approve.
Second? Nobody wants to second it?
Just to,
It's-
oh, sorry.
This sheet, right, okay.
Yeah, did we get the second you needed?
Yes.
Okay.
It was you.
Wonderful. Are the numbers in the parens mean, positive or like we overspent or we underspent? For instance, the thing that pops off to me is the miscellaneous council expenses, 14,000. I would assume that means we had previously allocated and did not spend that.
Parens are good news.
Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Friends
Okay.
are good news
Yeah.
on that one.
If you look at the,
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
We're reducing the budget.
Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
You didn't spend.
It's kind of the opposite way that I like to look at this, but hey, change your mind, you can get it. So we're taking, village council expenses down by $88,000 from 153,000 to 66,000.
And the contribution to the cable TV board is 61,000 above what we had anticipated.
No, it's just reclassified. If you look further down, there's one that comes out.
Oh, right there, yes,
So it
okay,
came out of one
transfer out.
department, went into another.
Money comes in and money goes out, yep.
Yep.
Yep. So we're transferring 130,000 to major streets. I assume that's because of the streetscape?
Yes.
Okay. And we're transferring 72,000 to the police. Why would we be doing that?
Because money's always going up.
Bottom of the first page,
Bottom of the first page?
yeah.
You don't need, you're
The last
wrong.
entry.
Got immune to it.
101-996.
So, you always are transferring money to the police. It's, the money starts in general fund and then you move the money to the police.
But don't we do it just one big chunk?
That's
I
what
mean,
We do it in one chunk, but this year more had to go and so.
Why did more have to go?
I couldn't tell you that.
72 grand, it was 72 grand. We already give the police a fair portion
I
of our,
don't think it's any one thing. I think it's just the total operations of the police was more than what we
Okay.
originally budgeted.
we should get an answer then for that.
Well, I guess we need to get that answer. Yeah, I agree.
But Bill, one of the things that we did in this last year was that we began transferring, our practice in the past had always been to just transfer one big chunk of money to the PD. And they were not investing it, they were not managing those funds. And so one of the things that we did a year or so ago was start allocating to them or transferring to the PD what was necessary on a 4 to 6 week basis
Okay,
for
okay.
operations.
So we could invest the money.
Right,
Yeah,
that makes so
and
much
that makes
sense.
I like that thought.
Especially
Very
now
good.
that we could.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
So does this
This money we were already
represent,
planning on spending.
Right.
Okay.
well, I'm not done on that one. Does this represent an increase in funding to the police over the plan?
No.
You gotta look back
Zero
at
increase.
look back at the budget here that we just approved, and it's got this year's stuff.
I know, but this amendment is for which year?
Current year.
It's
Current year.
For the fiscal
Okay.
year
Right now.
ending
I
this-
know, I'm just want to make sure we have total clarity here. So this 72.5,
I'm sorry,
this 72,500, this is included in the prior year budget exactly. There's not a dollar more going, or are we saying there is more money going to the police department than planned?
In FY '24, you've already spent, or by you will in the next 3 weeks, you will have spent 72,500 more than what you had originally passed 1 year.
So it isn't.
Okay, so it is an increase. That's not what we just said 2 minutes ago. It is an increase.
I didn't say it wasn't.
No, but you did not say that.
It's an additional transfer to the police fund to cover the operational costs. It's not one particular person that was hired or
Okay.
one particular thing that was bought. But you have spent more than what the original budget was.
Okay, so.
I think
we
that
should-
was your question.
Yeah, so we should have an understanding, 725 is $72,000. And we already give a lot of money to the police department, so we should have an explanation for why they ran out of budget.
Well, 72.5 is covering the present fiscal year or a portion of next year?
No, this is all for through June 30, 24.
Yeah.
Right.
Chief is here, he can probably address.
But
I don't think he is anymore. I think
I don't know, I'm looking at the police budget, I don't see it.
My understanding is that we had a number of additional expenses related to some of their officers that were health-related, that we had to pick up on, and we had some.
Overtime.
It was I do remember Chief talking about a significant overtime piece because we lost one of our part-time officers, so we had to have the regular officers filling in
And he
on
wasn't able,
part-time.
and he
What
wasn't
was-
able to hire part-time,
I do remember him saying that.
and that, thank you for that, because that also relates to authorization I gave to them to take an equivalent amount of money and convert that to a full-time position where he could get somebody hired, and you saw the results of that and
Right,
some of the stuff that was
right.
going on here today.
Because he had said that it wasn't a
Okay.
good deal because instead of having an officer, we were paying our existing officers time, overtime, yeah.
Does this also include having a deputy chief that we didn't anticipate in our budget?
No, that was all anticipated.
That
in
was.
the way
That
this
came
was
out.
Okay,
laid
that
out.
was.
We swapped that with
So-
Bastinelli.
So if we approve this, we still need it, what, tell me, give me more information about the
If you're running
72,500.
this in any other organization,
Right,
Bill, if you're working for me and you spend 72K extra, I would want to understand why. you spent
Absolutely,
70K,
absolutely, and I'm
and
with
what are
you
you gonna make
100%.
sure it never happens again?
Right,
I
right,
mean, we already spent a ton of money, we can't cover recurring expenses.
Right.
You know, so,
right.
it's not okay. to
So
spend
let's
72
get that
I
explanation
will have
from
to get
Dan
that for you.
and
I'm
get it
not
back.
prepared to
Okay,
explain it this evening.
that's cool. The only other.
I was not expecting you to explain right now, but, yeah.
The only other comment I have is Road and Street, we got another $285,000 that we're putting into that account. It appears to me on the top of the second page. That's a lot of money. Was that, again, streetscape?
It's, we had X amount of money that was spent and approved by ASI, and they have some outstanding bills that we have frankly been slow to pay,
Okay,
and that's.
well,
in
they're
part
slow
my
to finish the
strategy.
job.
That's correct.
Right,
So that's why you're seeing these a little later than you might otherwise.
okay. Okay, those are all my questions.
Yeah, just one last question from me. Is the 7,000 for the CDBG expenses?
That
That's
should
money
be
that
in
goes-
and out.
It's one allocation a year, and it goes to either Next or one or two other agencies
Yeah.
with whom we've been providing those funds, but the 7,000 is the total amount of money that we get in CDBG money.
But it's suggesting that it hasn't been spent.
Right, right.
And what happens
Did
is
they
we
not
send them a
cash
check, and if they don't cash it, it doesn't get spent,
Good to know.
okay?
Yep.
So, okay, so,
We've had that problem one other year.
It's a big problem then, right?
And we have to go back and harass them a little bit.
Well,
Or just
we should take note of the
not
people
give
that
them
are so
money
eager
again
to
if
take our
that's
money.
gonna, if you're not gonna
if you
use
don't need
it.
it, don't, yeah. Okay, so we have, I think we have all the questions answered?
Yeah.
So actually, I can't tell you a portion of that 72,000. If you scroll further down into the police fund, there's an adjustment to expenditures of 40,350 for autos and related equipment. So I don't know if you bought a car, fixed a car, outfitted a car.
It's
Bought a
one of
car.
the-
See, but I'm not gonna accept it, because we know every year, we, you know, Chief's got a plan for rotating cars every 4 years, so that's a plan.
Actually, it does, because this last year, they changed, and this was discussed with council, because what's been done in the past is we've divided the payments up into 3 annual pieces, but we were winding up paying some interest on those vehicles, and the suggestion was made when we did this the last time around, that we pay off the whole
Just
thing
buy
at
it.
once.
Yeah,
So that kicked the amount of cash up, but it saved us some money during the life of the ownership of the vehicle.
yep.
Okay.
Okay. We ready to vote? All in favor of the budget amendments?
Aye.
Aye? Nobody opposed? Let's move on. Okay. We already did the appointments, the liquor license, I think we decided we're not gonna
No.
do anything with that.
David and
Pending.
Kathy and myself will meet outside, after we reviewed both presentations here, We'll sit down separately to make a recommendation for
Right.
next month.
Right, okay. And then the last item, no, it's not the last item, but another item here is a resolution to move the start time of this meeting from 7 o'clock to 6 o'clock. And there's a resolution in your package. Do we have a motion to?
I brought this up and I'll make the motion. And tonight is a great example of why.
So,
Given the early hour?
I think if we move to 10 PM, that way we're not gonna stay till midnight. It's gonna be, 10, 14, 10,
Now, look,
20
we
will be
used to meet
done.
at 8, and then at some point, we decided that an
Thank you.
earlier meeting was probably beneficial. I think the office staff would probably appreciate an earlier meeting, and I think most of us would probably prefer to get this consummated before 10 o'clock at night. I may not look 68 years old, but I feel it, and I'd like to be in bed by about 10 o'clock. So I made the motion.
Is there a second?
Second, I'll second.
David and David, did you guys have
Not even
comments?
gonna work, it's easy to be here at 6.
So,
Full disclosure,
I don't have a,
texting my family to figure out whether or not it's a better time.
here's my general question.
I'm well trained immediately. I'm like, I don't want to get in trouble.
Look at, your wife was supposed to bring me a coffee too, and she slipped up.
that's why it's coming
Here's
up.
my general question on the topic.
So this is about the topic. I mean, I understand the reason for going earlier. It does interrupt family time from like dinner with
This
the
isn't
family
you
for
guys.
getting work.
This isn't.
Well, for him to be here, though.
I still have to be here.
Right.
Yeah, we're not
Still counts to the
talking, we're not
meeting.
talking about your organization, we're talking about this.
Just this meeting.
So that's the question.
But
is
he's
Yeah,
gotta
I'm
come
just-
to
That's
this
for you to
meeting. He's
decide.
still gotta
What
come to
impact,
this
The question is,
meeting.
why can't
what
we resolve
impact
this
does that
in
have
order?
on everyone besides ourselves?
That's the
Are-
question.
Is moving it to 7 o'clock gonna make it easier for
Moving it to
residents to get here? Moving it from 7 to 6 gonna make it easier for residents? I know it's better for you guys, I know you.
That wasn't that wasn't
Prefer that.
necessarily my intent.
No, I
My
understand that.
intent was to have, we have our Arizona meetings at 6 o'clock, and everybody seems to be very happy with that. Now, it's an older
Yeah, but
audience.
that's not mountain time. I mean, that's.
It's really 4
Whatever.
o'clock.
I'm just throwing it out, I understand that
I
there's
just got the approval, so I support it.
But now I can guess what Kathy's gonna do if you approve it, and she's gonna be fine with it.
Well, why does it take 3 hours?
I personally don't have a problem
Yeah.
with it. I was
Okay,
just
why don't we
curious what
vote?
impact it has on the big picture.
Yeah,
I know it's better for
yeah.
staff, it gives us more time.
And we might get out of here earlier.
Right.
Yeah, because my concern is the public, and does
That's my question.
6 o'clock impact everybody's dinner and they're not gonna come because they're eating dinner?
How many people come?
But
Well,
everybody
maybe
seems to
fewer
complain about how late it is too. I mean, we get
Yeah,
people come
I
and
mean, the
say-
truth is honestly, you may get more, because we're looking at the frame of, I don't know that a 6 or 7 o'clock time frame starts. I think if we want the participation from the community, we need that more hybrid approach that we're exploring.
Right.
And that was the other point that I was gonna get to,
Yeah,
was
Mike.
that if we were going to pursue that, which I know you're big on,
Yeah.
that's gonna make our meetings even longer.
Yeah,
We've
that's
had
fair.
that experience during COVID.
Yep.
And if we start that at 7 o'clock, we'll be here till midnight.
And again, this is
We did that during
This is
COVID,
action
and we
by
were here
resolution.
very late.
So if,
Okay.
if 4 months from now, we find out that 6
We can
o'clock
go
has
back.
just been a nightmare, then.
Okay, any
For the
further,
summer months, yeah, that's.
You can always move the. public
any
comment
further
too.
discussion on changing the meeting time from 7 to 6? If not, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, we just did it.
Can I, what did you say you could do?
I said you can move the public comments on the agenda later,
Oh.
Yeah,
after the
There are
officer.
municipalities that do that, that have that last,
okay.
Interesting.
just to keep their mouths.
Yeah.
Okay,
Why they do that.
Last
No
item.
predictability
the
on
last,
when it's gonna.
last
Make them
item,
work on the waterboarding. Make them
The last
work,
item is
stay
ta-
4 hours. You wanna say something for 2 minutes? Stay 3 hours.
the last item is to consider a closed
There
session.
are communities that do that.
We need a motion to, to
Motion to go into closed
closed session. Is there a second?
Motion and roll call, but Roger has to ask for it.
I'm sorry?
Closed session.
There you
I'm sorry?
Yes, Dave.
Roger
have
has-
to ask for a closed session in order for it to be.
You have to ask for
go.
it?
Yeah, it's part of the. Because it's about me.
Oh, okay,
It's part of the state law. with
okay.
respect to-
Are
Camera
you-
turns
are you
on.
Roll
gonna-
call, roll call and 2/3 vote.
Okay. So have you asked for it?
I
I
second.
just did,
Okay.
thank you.
Roll call? Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Trustee Hanky,
Yes.
trustee Early,
Yes.
trustee Goldberg,
Yes.
trustee Hanson,
Yes.
president Lamont,
Yes.
trustee Salter,
Here, yes.
trustee Solly.
Yes.
It's 10 o'clock, he's not here.
Okay, so let's,
Thank you for all your help today, this gentleman, by the way.
Yeah.
Great.